Let it be known by the usual sign of voting.
Aye.
Those who oppose, same sign. Chair is in the affirmative. Can I get a motion to open the court for the June term?
So moved. Second.
Motion from Dr. Daniels, second from Dr. Garcia to open the court for the June term. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of voting.
Aye.
Those who oppose, same sign. Chairs in the affirmative. Bailiff, will you please open the court?
All rise. The Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for the June 2022 term. The Honorable Commissioner John Wiley Price presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
Thank you, Marshal. The judge is, there's an accident. He's not in an accident, but there is an accident, so he's running a little late, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, the invocator today is my guest. And Dr. Walter Taylor currently serves as the Chief Strategy Officer for the North Texas Behavioral Health Authority under the leadership of Carol Luckey, who is the CEO of NITBA. This role, he works as a senior leadership team to plan and provide NITBA's behavioral health services in a 6-county region. Prior to joining NITBA, Dr. Taylor was blessed to serve as Dallas County government on the staff of Dr. Commissioner THERESA Daniel. And throughout his career, Dr. Taylor has served in the public behavioral health sector and in the pastoral ministry. He earned a Bachelor of Science in Organizational Management from Oklahoma Christian University, a Master of Arts in History and Theology from Abilene Christian University, a Master of Public Administration, and a PhD in Public Administration and Public Policy from the University of Texas in Arlington. He was recently board certified in healthcare management and now a fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives. He lives in Rowlett with his wife, Martrice, of 28 years, and together they have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. It is my privilege and honor to offer the invocation at the request of District 3 to Dr. Walter Taylor, and I'd ask this court, a number of my members here are a part of NITBA, to be in prayer, special prayer, for Sherry Kusumoto, who transitioned and has been very active, both in the behavioral health sector, mental health sector of our community. And our prayers are to her husband and her family. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you. Let us pray. Lord, we come to you this day, thanking you for this day that you have made. We are glad and we rejoice in it. We come together to acknowledge that the earth is yours and the fullness thereof. We acknowledge that government is yours with all of its power and prestige. Ours, Lord, is the blessing, privilege, and honor of stewardship of that government. Therefore, we lift up our county leadership. We are thankful for our county leadership. Judge Clay Jenkins, Commissioner Dr. THERESA Daniel, Commissioner J.J. Koch, Commissioner John Wiley Price, and Commissioner Dr. ELBA Garcia. We ask that you continue to give them a spirit of wisdom, compassion, and justice so that they may continue to lead this county to be what you would have it to be for the people whom they govern. We ask that you continue to watch over them, bless them, and protect them from all hurt, harm, and danger. Continue to help them to be what we need them to be and what you want them to be. All to your praise, your glory, and your honor. It is in your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. And may be seated. The judge is here. Let me just say that, and also want to thank Dr. Taylor. Recently, the Dallas County Juvenile Board appointed him, and he is now a member of YSAB. which is the Youth Services Advisory Board dealing with the second largest juvenile department in this state. And so we appreciate him bringing that expertise in light of a publication recently with regard that from NIDBA about suicide. And as we know, with this Mental Health Month, and we'll talk about it, but one of the things that's happened, and if you haven't seen that report, I invite you to go to NIDBA's website. The travesty of that, and the reason we wanted to see Dr. Taylor there, is it talks about all of the ethnicities in Dallas County and the suicide rate. However, African American men are leading 6% higher than any other group. And I guess what was really telling about that publication is that as young as 12 years of age, and unfortunately African Americans in terms of suicide present primarily between the ages of 19 and 29. Whereas in the Anglo community, it's in the 50s. In the Asian community, it fluctuated, but it was between 30s and 40s, and the Hispanic community was right there as well. I guess what's telling for me is that 19, you don't even know what life is all about, and 19 to 29. And Dr. Taylor is continuing to flush that out with the faith-based community, and we're continuing to try to move forward. So I just want to commend him and NIDBA, Ms. Lucky, and the group as we continue. They have now been tasked with going into the schools and trying to see what programs are in the schools with regards to this population. Everything from hanging on back, and it's get the report if you haven't seen it. Thank you.
I just want to add, Commissioner, thank you, Dr. Taylor. Obviously, your knowledge and, continued support for this county is really appreciated. I know that in NIDBA, as a vice chair of the board, I appreciate, the fact that you continue to get involved in every single event that we do in the community when you present, for the minority community, Commissioner, because one of the points that you just mentioned is males. Minority males, the ones that are coming out with the highest number of suicide in this county. So I really appreciate the fact that you show up every single time we have a community event and present in front of the community what are the most important factors that you have to look into if you have sons that are being bullied, if you have sons that are, having some kind of mental issues. So with that, I appreciate that you're a member of JISAP. I didn't know that, but thank you, Commissioner. I think your expertise, I know you did a fabulous job for Dr. Daniel, but I really appreciate the work that you are doing with NIDBA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Koch has our, thank you. Commissioner Koch has our first resolution.
No, we're pulling that for 2 weeks, so
All right.
Mr. Cox can be here.
Commissioner Daniel has our next resolution.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much. June is Gay Pride Month, and therefore there are a number of people in the audience who would like to come forward in order to support the next resolution, among them at least Shelley Skeen and Jayla Wilkerson. I don't see, but whoever else is here for Gay Pride, please come up. Whereas June is recognized. Yes, please come up. June is recognized as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ+ Pride Month, commemorating the rebellion at the Stonewall Inn in New York City. The rebellion began on June 28, 1969, in opposition to police harassment, and what followed marked the beginning of the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement. And whereas individuals who are LGBTQ+ live in every neighborhood in Dallas County and are from all faiths, races, national origins, socioeconomic statuses, education levels, employment fields, and political beliefs, And whereas the fight for equality has taken many paths, a significant one is through the legal system. One, Inc. versus Olson in 1958 was the first U.S. Supreme Court case that involved gay rights, marked a triumphant moment for the emerging liberation movement establishing the right to free speech. In Romer versus Evans, 1996, the Supreme Court ruled that laws couldn't single out LGBTQ people to take away their rights. In Lawrence versus Texas, 2003, Justice Kennedy delivered the decision stating that liberty presumes an autonomy of self that includes freedom of thought, belief, and expression, and that the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment protects the full right to engage in private conduct without government intervention into the individual's personal and private life. In United States versus Windsor, 2013, the Supreme Court ruled that the Defense of Marriage Act violates due process and equal protection principles. And whereas this month we celebrate the 7th anniversary of the historic Oberfeld versus Hodges ruling issued June 26, 2015, where the Supreme Court held that same-sex couples are guaranteed the fundamental right to marriage on the same terms and conditions as different-sex couples under the Due Process Clause and the Protection Clause. And whereas in the wake of the leaked draft of the Supreme Court's intention to overturn Roe v. Wade, the draft's provocative rhetoric is generating concern that LGBTQ plus advances and other matters based on the right to privacy could be vulnerable. Cases like Lawrence versus Texas and Oberfeld versus Hodges are based at least in part on that same right to privacy. The draft opinion also signals that the court is willing to disturb significant legal precedent, which could have consequences beyond the immediate overturning of the decision. And whereas attorneys for LGBTQ plus advocacy organizations say that if the language is final, it opens a Pandora's box for rolling back some of the most fundamental American rights guaranteed in the 14th Amendment. As proof of the current contentious climate, the last Texas legislative session saw an unprecedented number of over 75 of anti-LGBTQ bills filed. Now therefore be it resolved that Dallas County is committed to being supportive and welcoming of the LGBTQ community. And the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby proclaim the month of June 2022 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in Dallas County, and I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And for the purposes of this, I'm going to abstain. Just the last two paragraphs are three levels of speculation. One, that the draft opinion will be the final opinion. That two, that Justice Alito was being disingenuous when he specifically disclaimed that privacy rights would be disturbed. So, you know, that would be basically calling that gentleman a liar. And then three, that Texas and other states would then go on to ban gay marriage or somehow meddle with those fundamental privacy rights. I now have the honor and the privilege of representing the beating heart of gay Dallas with Oklahoma. And I know we discussed this, and I really wish you could have dropped these two out. During the first quarter of May, I had the opportunity to present a resolution for Police Week, and I very intentionally placed in it language from former President Barack Obama, because I thought it was very, very important that my courtmates know that I wanted them to be able to laud and stand together with the police to get everything out of the way, to make sure that the police were the focus of what we were doing, and they were respected and cared for and loved. I wish that my colleague would have done the same thing here, because I want you to know that I care for and respect and love everything about that community. But that language, it just doesn't jive with reality, at least the way that I believe. So I'm very hopeful that you'll accept my apology for standing on principle, and that I absolutely love and adore our vibrant gay community here in Dallas County. But I'm going to have to abstain from this one because I can't agree with that language. It's highly speculative, and inappropriate for something that should be about a joyful celebration.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
And we go ahead, and there's also a speaker after y'all speak, but go ahead. And anything you'd like to say, come say it.
Yeah, sure. My name is Shelley Skeen, and I am a proud member of Dallas. I was born and raised here, and Dallas has been a leader in protecting our community, the LGBTQ community, since 2002, in housing, healthcare, public accommodations, and that is something that I want the city to continue to do. Our state as a whole does not protect LGBTQ people, and in our cities, less than 1/5 of our people here in our state are protected in housing, public accommodations, and employment, and also healthcare. So thank you for that, and we are grateful to be here.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jayla Wilkerson. I'm an attorney. All of you have seen me before. I used to work here for Dallas County at the DA's office and then later for the city attorney's office here in Dallas. I love Dallas. I consider it my home, though I don't live here anymore currently. I'm trying to get back. But I think this is very important, and I appreciate you, Dr. Daniel, for bringing up this resolution again this year. I think this year it's more poignant than many others because we are under attack, the LGBT community. From a legal standpoint, there are an unprecedented number of laws being introduced and some passed against my community, particularly the transgender community. And I would respectfully disagree with at least the last point of Mr. Koch, because the state laws here in the state of Texas that are unconstitutional, have been ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of the United States, that are against the gay, lesbian, transgender, and queer communities are still on the books. So it is still illegal as a matter of state law for me to be married to my wife, and it is still illegal as a matter of state law for me to have sex with my wife. Those laws cannot be enforced because of the Supreme Court precedent, which is, in fact, hanging in limbo at this moment because they can reverse it at any time. We need strong legislation to protect our rights at the state level, at the federal level, at the county, and at the city levels. And I would urge you all to continue to work toward those efforts. I would urge you all to continue to work to protect my community in our Dallas County Jail and elsewhere. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming.
That guy, Judge.
Yeah,
Take a picture.
I just
No,
wanted
no,
to
no,
take a.
no, hold on, Judge, you got a speaker.
Right, but we'll get their picture and then I'll hear the speaker, so since they're
Oh,
easier with this camera.
Yeah, why don't we
We
finish
have
the
some
speakers?
speakers on
No,
this.
we
Yeah.
need to hear
We
the
have
speaker.
more than one speaker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I would just like to say, too, that I respect my colleague and his opinions, but would also like to say that this is a very happy, joyous occasion, and I know this past weekend there was a lot of celebration that went on of yes, the rights of all people to not be discriminated against. And so that is first of all. But secondly, I think that it is also true that we do live in an incredibly contentious period. And that if we are silent about those particular issues and where there are legal, moral, philosophical, practical differences of opinion, that I think it is my responsibility and my right to address them, to bring them up, to make sure that they are still paid attention to. And so with all respect, but I most definitely stand by what has been written here, because I think we are in a different place than where we were last year. I'd also like Mr. Tafalo to come up too. I see him hiding behind the pillar there. But he has also been a very, very strong supporter for everybody to have the same rights. And so thank you very much for coming this morning and supporting this particular resolution.
We got at least one speaker
J-Pop, is J-Pop here?
on this.
Yep.
Okay, let's all come take our picture since you're all up, and then J-Pop will address us in our public speaking. knock all this,
You don't want to just finish the speakers?
Yeah, let him come speak. Are you, who's J. Paul?
Right, the gentleman right there.
Come
And then let's
speak.
read
It's
also
3
signed
minutes.
up.
okay, yeah, if you're just gonna do it while they're all standing there, I was trying to get the photography out, just sit down and get up. Go ahead, J. Pop. Oh, and, let's hear the rules of decorum from our bailiff, before you speak, because we always do that. Nothing against you, Mr. Bob.
I'm behind
It's
you.
just the cadence of how we do it.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All Commissioner Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraint. Disruptive visitors and/or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's just the way we do it, is he always says something before our first speaker. Come on up, Mr. Papa. You should see a little clock somewhere around here with 3 minutes. When it gets to your 3 minutes, just finish your sentence if you would.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jay Pop, and I'm a homosexual man. I've been a homosexual man all my life. I've been in a relationship with the same person for 30 years. And actually, that's 30 years, 2 months, 59 days, and 9 hours and 22 minutes. Anyone that's been in a long-term relationships knows they're all important. I have placed and helped place many bricks on our path to freedom and liberation. Thank you for letting me address the court on the 2022 LGBTQ plus Pride Month regarding the 14th Amendment. The question regarding the Supreme Court's trajectory arises because some of Roe's premises also served as foundations for other decisions. The court has held for more than 50 years that the 14th Amendment, by prohibiting any state from denying any person liberty without due process of law, and that protects privacy. It invoked the privacy right to strike down laws against contraception in Griswold versus Connecticut and against sodomy in Lawrence versus Texas. It relied on Lawrence in turn to rule in Obergefell versus Hodges that governments must recognize same-sex marriages. Conservative Justice Samuel Alito wrote in a draft opinion for the court in the abortion case that the 14th Amendment protects only those rights that are enumerated in the Constitution or deeply rooted in the nation's history since contraception was restricted. Sodomy, illegally, and same-sex marriages inconceivable for much of that history. Both supporters and opponents, those in other landmark cases, have wondered why they can still stand. Alito dissented in Obergefell. He thought states should be allowed to decide whether they recognize same-sex marriages, and in judicial philosophy suggest he would have not voted with the majorities in Griswold versus Lawrence if he had been on the court. But this is more important. Alito also distinguishes that other issues from abortion on the grounds for the latter involves the critical moral question of the destruction of human beings, at least potential lives. He says repeatedly that the court can rule that governments may act on this interest without undermining other rulings. And I think that really goes into that 14th Amendment. The decades-long companion resistance to Roe also sets it apart from those rulings. Griswold and Lawrence did not lead to any such campaign. Without state legislation to outlaw contraception or sodomy, even a justice who wanted to overturn these rulings would not have any occasion to do it. This is something that Justice Amy Barrett tried to explain during her confirmation hearings. Abortion is a person terminating life, which is obviously a unilateral decision. Gay marriage is not unilateral. It's a bilateral agreement between two loving people.
Mr. Pop, I'm sorry, but you are out of time. but if you would, please, share with us, share with Daryl's, and we'll get it by email the rest of your remarks.
Say that last part again.
I said, please share with us the rest of your remarks by giving them to Daryl so we can read them, but you are out of time under our
Okay,
rules of 3
thank you.
minutes. Right,
And Daryl, Leslie Reed he had signed up.
Leslie, who? Tell me who it is.
And, well, you know, I know I'm getting old. Is everybody just whispering, or what the hell? I mean, can everybody just speak up? I mean, if you got something to say it. I can't-
Leslie Reed did sign up to speak as well. Leslie Reed, he should be on
Leslie
your.
Reed. Okay, come on up, Leslie. And I am interested in hearing the rest of what Mr. Pop has to say, so please share with me. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to speak here this morning.
Thank you for speaking.
I want to talk. I must confess, I have a difficulty hearing, so you pretty much have to knock me in the head to get my attention. I wish to talk about the resolution that we're talking about and why I think it should be changed. I'm not against celebrating Pride. From personal experience, I can say that discrimination related to sexuality that was so common many years ago has diminished greatly now. And events like Pride have helped make that happen. So the first 4 points of the resolution are just fine, but it ends there. The last 2 points are just unnecessary for the celebration of Pride Month. They actually detract from the festivities. What I'm told is that the Supreme Court report is just an illegally leaked draft specifically disclaiming any effect on gay marriage. And according to one of the points mentioned in the resolution, that there is concern that the court may change some gay-related decisions. There is absolutely no movement or activity or effort to do this. The final 2 points are just for political effect. It assumes all gays are liberal Democrats. Not true. Many of them are politically conservative like me. I'm active in log cabin Republicans. I hear what's going on in all aspects of the Republican Party. There is no strong movement. We have some people whose ideas I would change, but there is no strong movement to change the laws now. Gays are essentially accepted just about everywhere. I would conclude with a very prominent example. A recent Republican president appointed openly gay ambassadors, judges, and a gay cabinet member, the very first gay cabinet member that was ever appointed. They weren't appointed because they were gay. That's irrelevant. They were appointed because they were the best person for the job. So I say this, pass the resolution without the last 2 parts, which are, dare I say it, junk. Then let the Pride celebration begin. Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else?
Any other speakers that were signed up but didn't make my list? Daryl? Okay. All right, well, that concludes our public speakers on this. Let's get that picture.
Well, I just want to say something, Judge. I mean, and I thank you to all the speakers, and thank you all for being here. I mean, I want to thank Commissioner Daniels and Erin Moore for bringing this resolution forward. The reality, guys, is in the political climate that we're living, and I'm just going to follow Commissioner Price. I must be getting old, too. You know, it's about Pride Month. It's about a celebration of equality. We can be here all day long, finding the correct language to be politically correct. But at the end of the day, you know, the gay community, like Commissioner Koch said, is respected. You know, Dallas County is a welcoming county. And more importantly, I mean, we have worked with you in many, many issues, from domestic partner benefits in 2012 to gender affirmation care, transgender health care, and those are the important issues about equality. Those are the fights that the gay community has been in the forefront fighting every day. And as always, I want to thank you all for your not only advocacy, involvement, community care, and more importantly, for being here, being proud of the quality. The fight is not over. Most fights are never over, but you are here, you are represented, and you are respected. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you all for being here.
Well, these kind of times I try not to comment.
Then don't do
But
it.
you make, I'm not going to disappoint you. My problem is 99% of those people, but for their self-identification, I wouldn't have known that they were gay.
Exactly.
Okay? But when people go into areas like Tops and Buffalo and into certain areas, and on the end of his gun, he didn't say gay. He said nigger. In this country, racism is still not about sexual orientation and identity. Because unless people identify themselves, there's no way for me to know. And so my problem still is, when I see what's in this country, us begin to deal with the crisis of racism, then that becomes, the Pride Month for me. I support people being able to live. I'm not God, and I know a lot of you are glad that I'm not. But my point is that racism is still the bedrock. And I've said to this court, said on every record, and if it says nothing else, the legacy will always be, again, around hate speech. You said this the last time we met. I'll say it again today. And what we've done is created a climate in this country. Some of us don't have to be identified. We are identified by birth. And as a result, we catch hell by birth. Not because of any decision we make or not make, or anything we reveal. By birth, we catch hell. Didn't want to disappoint you. Anyway, let's take this picture.
Thank you very much for your words, Commissioner Price, because there is without a doubt that everybody here at this table, because I think that every one of us, too, has been discriminated against. And that is the point of what we're talking about here, is that discrimination. I don't care what you base it upon, is wrong.
Okay.
And from the very first, I don't know how long ago it was that recognition that yes, there are many circumstances. I can never hide that I'm a woman and have been discriminated against because of that. I have been discriminated against because I'm white, and I can't hide that point either. But to say that because of behaviors and who you are, that discrimination is wrong. And yes, we will stand all together, because we're still not at that point where discrimination is no longer in our society.
All right, well, let's get this picture.
Yeah. Oh, that was true, Commissioner. You didn't disappoint. Stand by, Hey, Jesse, good to see you. Doctor, good to see you.
Yeah, close enough.
I'm so glad you made it. Thanks for being here. And I'm glad you made it. Try there.
Here first, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And it's so good to see you. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Service desk fixed it.
Hey, Jess, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here. Dr. Carlos, thank you. Okay.
All right, our next resolution
They
is
just
from Dr.
invite
Garcia.
black gay folks. Wait, do I know what you say?
Next resolution is from Dr.
But we do
Garcia.
have them in the
Oh, do we?
past.
I know, shit, maybe they didn't get an invitation to the, I'm just saying, they weren't invited to the party. They weren't invited to the party. Hell, you show up with a delegation, looks like, anyway, what did you say?
Okay, next resolution is mine, and I am so happy for this resolution. I'm going to ask Ms. Lynn Richardson, which is no stranger to Dallas County. She does the best job within the Public Defender's Office. Also, Stephanie Hassel, Director of Public Works Dallas, and Brandy Giles, and the group of that are representing today, you know, the Public Works Dallas. I love from the name, I love what you do. I mean, it's well known that arts, you know, are not only a way to get freedom, but self-expression, self-awareness. When I look at the arts, I always feel that I can do better problem solving. I think I also have a community engagement, and more importantly, you know, helps our kids stay out of the streets, self-improvement, and more, we talk about, you know, suicide and so many issues here in Dallas County. When we see the arts, you know, you see the change that you can do in a community, and we do it every day in Dallas County. And sadly, these are the stories that sometimes don't get out, you know, because they're good stories, because they are proud stories, and obviously the arts provide this to the community. So I'm very happy to read this resolution today that reads as follows. Whereas Public Works Dallas, produced by Dallas Theater Center in collaboration with Southern Methodist University Meadows Schools of Fine Arts and AT&T Performing Arts Center, is a groundbreaking community engagement and participatory theater project designed to deliberately blur the line between professional artists and Dallas community members. And whereas Public Works Dallas is affiliated with the ongoing Public Works Initiative of the Public Theater in New York that seeks to engage the people of New York by making them creators and not just spectators. Lear Divisonet and Todd Almond worked together to create the Public Works program and the first Public Works pageant production of The Odyssey, which Dallas Theater Center will produce in summer of 2022. And whereas Public Works Dallas, in partnership with their 5 community partner sites, which are Backman Lake Together, City of Dallas Beckley Center Recreation Center, Janie C. Turner Recreation Center, and Jubilee Park Community Center, and Stephen A. Collin Military Family Clinic at MetroCare, offer theater workshops led by professional teaching artists, including members of the Beverly Resident Acting Company. And whereas countless community members learn, create, and collaborate with one another year-round through workshops, potlucks, field trips, and viewings of Dallas Theater Center season productions, all for free. And whereas Public Works Dallas strives to make all programming accessible and offers food, childcare, language support, and transportation support as needed. And Public Works Dallas encompasses educational and community engagement for all ages and background, including the award-winning Project Discovery educational program, pilot programs such as Artists in the Community and Community Touring Production, as well as their annual pageant production with 200 community members alongside professional artists. And whereas Public Works Dallas values include listening, longitudinal investment, equity, mutually beneficial ambition, and radical hospitality and inclusion of all residents of our city are treated as VIPs. And in rehearsal rooms and workshop spaces, there is gathering of people of different races, ethnicities, and cultures who speak different languages and are of different ages, so barriers are removed. Isn't that beautiful? Whereas Dallas Theater Center and Public Works Dallas strive to build a world where theater is at the heart of every community, and community is at the heart of every theatrical performance, and uplifts the message. Art belongs to everyone in a democracy, and all are welcome here. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does officially congratulates and commends Public Works Dallas, produced by the Dallas Theater Center and Southern Methodist University Meadows School of Arts and AT&T Performing Arts Center for their efforts to engage, educate, and better the community through theatrical performances, and I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Ms. Richardson.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Garcia. I think you missed your calling. You should be on Broadway. We may have a part for you in one of the shows
You
here.
know, I thought about it many times. If I can do this, I can do better.
I bring you greetings on behalf of the Dallas Theater Center Board. Jennifer Altabeth is our chair, and Chris Luna, who sends his greetings to you, Commissioner, is our board president. We also have with us a number of individuals. We have staff, we have participants in some of the performances, we have some of our professional actors. They have been instructed, if they say anything, to limit it only to a minute, okay, so they know that. But let me say this, when I became involved with Dallas Theater Center, what impressed me most about Public Works Dallas is their efforts to reach out and to engage communities, underserved communities, many of the communities where people have never been exposed to theater before. And the fact that they were willing to do that, and when they do it, the respect, the transparency, the authenticity of bringing people of all different kinds of backgrounds together to work together with professionals like some of the ones that we have here today. Just inspired me so much. Most recently, they engaged with one of their newest partners with the Dallas MetroCare Veterans Clinic, which we are all familiar with because of the BHLT. So I'm going to turn it over to the artistic director, Kevin Moriarty, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about the project and why we're here.
Thank you, Lynn. What an honor to be before you today. At Dallas Theater Center, we believe that theater's the birthright of every single person in a democracy. And through our Public Works program, we're able to put that into action year-round, 9 months out of the year. We're working with our community partners, for instance, at Bachman Lake Together. We have parents and kids doing free acting classes together in both English and Spanish simultaneously. At Beckley Sainer and Janie C. Turner Rec Centers, we have senior citizens engaging in acting and playwriting classes. At Jubilee Park and Community Center, with our new partners at Stephen A. Cohen Military Clinic, we've got folks of all ages, all throughout the city, year-round, expressing themselves as artists. And then, and this is where it gets super fun and where I hope to see all of you this summer, once a year in the summer, we invite people from all over the city, people including folks who've never acted on a stage in their life, whether they're kids or senior citizens or anywhere in between, to join us at Dallas Theater Center, where we do a fully professional production with all of the resources that we are blessed to have as a leading arts organization, and we welcome everybody onto the stage to express themselves authentically. We're in the midst of those rehearsals right now, those performances of a big, massive musical production of The Odyssey will happen on July 8th, 9th, and 10th. We would love for you to be with us in the audience, or if any of you would like to try your hand at stepping on stage in a special featured appearance, we would love to have you with us. I believe that Commissioner Daniel may be making a special appearance at one of the performances, and if any of you would like to do that as well, we would be honored to have you join with people from all throughout Dallas, expressing our sense of joy at being able to lift our voices together. Thank you so much for this recognition today.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Claycorn-Hasso. I'm the Director of Public Works Dallas and a proud member of the Public Works Dallas community. So I'm going to be reading a testimony from one of our community members, Francesca Meredith, who's the mother of Olivia Meredith. Olivia is about to go into 5th grade and will be spending her 4th summer with us. My name is Francesca Meredith, and my daughter Olivia Meredith first became a part of Public Works Dallas the summer of 2018 when she performed in The Winter's Tale. Public Works Dallas opens doors to so many members of the community with the many workshops, live theater productions, and volunteer opportunities. My daughter and I have been a part of the PWD family since that very afternoon they visited Janie C. Turner Recreation Center in search of community members to audition for their summer production. That was the beginning of a whole new world for my daughter and our family. My daughter had never auditioned for a live theater production. Theater was never on our radar of her possible interests. I don't even think she thought about it. PWD welcomes all people with open arms and the warmest hearts. They are all about teaching and learning from all who they interact with. I've been able to watch my daughter learn and grow with her amazing PWD family in 2018, Winter's Tale, 2019, As You Like It, 2021, A Little Less Lonely, and this year's production of Odyssey. Throughout the years, there have been staffing changes, like everywhere, but the warmth, compassion, and welcoming feel has never altered. PWD has opened so many doors for so many people, including my daughter, Olivia. I've told Stephanie and many other PWD staff that I'm so thankful for them as live theaters what Olivia wants to pursue. I love them all and hope you all come see the production of the Odyssey and become involved in workshops and volunteering. And I just want to say on behalf of myself that I am so proud to be part of this community, that for me it has been life-changing. My whole family, you'll hear my husband speak in just a moment, we're all a part of this community, and it's such an important initiative for the Dallas community. So we invite you, we welcome you, and we thank you for being here.
Good morning, my name is Brandy Giles and I am the Associate Producer of Public Works, and I thought with my minute I would tell you a little bit about my day. So basically, from the moment I wake up until I get to about rehearsal, I spend the day sitting in front of a computer, much like I think a lot of you. We respond to emails, we problem solve, we try to make things as best as possible. Rehearsals begin and I'm still with my computer sitting and working, and then I have the pleasure of looking up, and when I look up, what I see is the most beautiful thing ever. I see our senior citizens and our youth. I see our staff members and our professional actors and community members who have done a community theater, who's never stepped foot on stage, who has no idea what they're doing, all sharing space together. They're singing the same songs and they're doing the same dances and they're enjoying the same thing as a unit. And that is probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, and it is what drives me day after day after day. When I get tired, when I don't want to respond to that email, when I don't want to get out of bed, I know that in just a few hours I'm going to get to share space with my community, and that is what is so special about Public Works, and that is also why I definitely want to encourage all of you to at least come see it. If you don't want to be on stage, that's fine, but come see it and just see what we're talking about, because it'll change your life whether you're on stage or you're just sitting in the house watching. Thank you.
Buenos días todos. Yo soy Ivan Hasso. I am a teaching artist with Public Works Dallas. I've been a teaching artist since year one, 2016. I teach bilingual and multi-generational workshops at Bachman Lake Together. Here we share space with families, with participants that range from age 7 and up. So you can have mom and daughter and son and dad and grandma and grandpa sometimes participate all together in this one workshop, which is something that it's unique because that doesn't happen all the time. Now, throughout the years, I haven't only just participated as a teaching artist, I've also been an actor working with the community participants on stage in the pageants. I've also been an associate director working with the community. So I've had the privilege of being able to see these participants work, grow through different lenses and different aspects and angles. To see community members form friendships, strong friendships with other members that live in other parts of the city. So bridging that gap with community members that maybe they wouldn't have ever formed the friendship if it wasn't for Public Works Dallas. As a first-generation Mexican-American with Mexican parents, my first language was Spanish. And so being able to teach in both languages is really so close and significant to me, and is a great impact for the families, because I've seen firsthand how language barriers can limit what parents and families want to participate in as far as experiences and events. So being able to teach like this at Bachman Lake Together eliminates that barrier and opens that accessibility to these families to an experience that they would have not had if it weren't for Public Works Dallas. I wish I had a program like this when I grew up, and I thank you for supporting it, and thank you very much for having me here today.
Good morning. I'm Thelma Lett, and I participate with the Dallas Theater Center Public Works program through the Parks and Recreation Beckless Sainer Center. I have been participating since inception, June 2016. attending classes such as acting, creative writing, staging, tips on auditioning, diction, etc. at the Vaccination Center and the Kalita Humphreys Theater Center. I have been on stage for 3 summer productions, our virtual YouTube production in 2021, and presently rehearsing on stage for the on-stage production number 4, The Odyssey. One year at the conclusion of our Recreation Center acting class, we were able to stage a production at the Hampton, Illinois Library Black Box Theater for our families and friends. It was a very impressive, and it was a standing room only event. Very personally, the program provides an opportunity for me to meet and form new friendship, perform alongside professionally recognized award-winning artists, physical activity like exercising, singing, dancing, and is mentally stimulating, creating poems, stories within 10 minutes and being expressive. And you were extended an invitation to participate with the public work, with the production for this summer, The Odyssey. Please come. I'm plus 70, so it's open to everyone. So I just want to validate that. On behalf of the Public Works community, I would like to thank Mr. Moriarty, the Dallas Theater Center Board, for bringing the program to Dallas, to the DTC staff, guild, and all community organizations that support the Public Works program. And thank you for your support.
Ms.
Good morning. My name is Katie Kleins. I'm with Dallas Park and Recreation, specifically the Janie C. Turner location. I just wanted to share this morning that what a joy it is to have Public Works Dallas in our rec centers. We have 2 locations, Beckley and Janie C. It's just been a joy since my inclusion with the program since about 2018, seeing seniors specifically come into our recs, getting to have a voice, getting to do stuff that they might have never done as a young child or a young adult. So it's just been a really great time seeing them from workshops to pageants, getting to go to those pageants and just seeing the growth that they've had between doing the different things throughout the year. So thank you for the recognition, and we really appreciate your support.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Solano. I'm a proud member of the Briley Resident Acting Company at Dallas Theater Center. Dallas Theater Center is my artistic home, but more importantly, Dallas Theater Center has given me a sense of community, specifically through our Public Works Dallas program. You just saw Miss Thelma. She is one of my students. I've taught her. I have the great pleasure of not being a teacher, but also a student of life. I have the opportunity every week to teach these people. It touches my heart deeply. It's emotional for me because this is a program that strips boundaries that might otherwise separate us: race, religion, culture, sexual orientation. And not only does it strip those boundaries away, but we celebrate them. We celebrate each other, and it is a beautiful, beautiful sense of community. You have to experience it. Miss Thelma's plea for you to join us is far more important than mine will ever be, but please, please come experience what it is to see our community, our entire community together on stage. Thank you so much for honoring us today.
Thank you for being here.
And finally, thank you, respected commissioners. My name is Maria Calderon, and in 2017, I started as assistant and translator to the director of Public Works Dallas. Then I moved on to being the community liaison for our bilingual community, and now I am coordinator of the program. And Public Works Dallas, ever since I joined it, has become my second home. And I've seen the privilege to see it grow and expand. I've seen people who have come and who have gone, new partnerships, alumni partnerships, and highs and lows like any organization, especially any nonprofit organization. But I'm a witness that our mission still lives. Our mission lives in our team members and our community members, and it certainly has changed myself and other young artists like me view on how to look at people, how to look at communities, how to look at art as a moving factor of our community. And we search for communities where art is not only dependent on the language that you speak, on the money that you hold, the status that you hold, but it's a matter of your citizenship. And what I dream for our work is to continue for many years, igniting this mission in all people, from all ages, from all walks of life, and any language. Teatro at the heart of every community, comunidad at the heart of every theater. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you all for being here. And I'm not going to let Commissioner Daniel be by herself that day. So I will be there.
And I most certainly am looking forward to it, because I was thinking, when are those opportunities when we can not only do something good, but have fun doing it at the same time? And so I'm very much looking forward to that. And I just got a note from one of my staff members who, in fact, had been involved with the programming at Bachman Lake Together. Martha Rodriguez is the person who was there, and she talks about what a great experience it was. So I too am looking forward to it. And as I said, you know, let's do some good things, but then let's also have a good time doing it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I'll consider it when you go from, I'll consider when you do the production of Frank Crowley High, since Cooley High.
Come on, Commissioner.
Well, hell, I'm just saying.
Is the
I want to see a real production.
But then work with Resolano.
Name was mentioned in a show, Penny Candy, that was done. It's part of the professional group.
You see, Commissioner? The audience will welcome you. We'll create a specific
I'm
character.
still waiting on Frank Crowley High.
I mean, there are regular theatrical productions that are in Crowley.
Well, thank you for indulging us. I am going to be in the performance I was in, As You Like It. Commissioner Daniel did come to see the performance, so it is really special. I think I'm the first board member to ever participate, and so we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you do in the community. Nothing like bring us all together. Come on for the picture and let's go ahead and thank you all. And we'll work on Commissioner Price.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, Ms. Blanquita. Thank you all. Ms. Richardson, thank you so much. Mr. Meredith, fabulous. You know, and if you send me
Get to Frank Crowley High.
Thank you all. Nice to see you.
I steal the stage too much as it is. I don't even
Thank
do
you
it
so
now.
much for inviting me. That was fun.
I have the next two resolutions, and the first one is for our great employees. These are our employees of the month. If any of you are in the room, please come on forward. I know many of our employees of the month are, since COVID started, are staying at their desk until the big celebration at the end of the year. So that resolution reads as follows. Whereas for the last 10 years, Dallas County has recognized outstanding employees through our Employee Recognition Program. Each month, select employees are formally recognized by the Commissioners Court at a designated session where their names are written in the record of Dallas County. And whereas this annual program allows elected officials and department directors to publicly salute employees who rise to the challenge of public service and represent the first-class public sector organization we strive to be. And whereas the employees recognized today have been chosen for their hard work and dedication to meeting the demands of their individual positions and the overall strategic plan set each year by the Commissioners Court. And whereas for those who interact with Dallas County, our employees represent who we are as a public entity. The efforts by the employees listed below ensure that the public sees Dallas County at its best. These recognized employees perform above expectations and ensure that Dallas County continues to be a regional leader and a destination of choice for residents and businesses. The Dallas County Employee Recognition Program sets each of them apart as worthy of this honor. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby salute these employees for being selected as Employee of the Month. Crystal Garland in Criminal Justice, Rachel Young at the District Clerks, Melvin Cerdio at Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Francis Garza at Juvenile, Aaron Hill at Juvenile, Jeanette Marino at Pretrial Services, Dionysios Caravellos at Public Works, Priscilla Johnson at the Sheriff's, Corey Hamilton at the Sheriff's, Diane Wynn at the Tax Office, and we offer best wishes for continued success at Dallas County, and I so move.
Second.
I think Commissioner Price beat you to it that time. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
That's because.
I also have the next resolution, and
Are
this
there any employees here?
No, no, they hourly work. Oh,
The
the
one-
sheriff? The sheriff?
Oh, we got
Okay.
one. Well, come on down
On
there. I
down.
said come on down.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for all you do, because as I
Who,
say.
and who are you? Where do you work?
I'm Priscilla Johnson. I work for traffic, patrol traffic.
And how long have you been with traffic?
Going on 9 years.
9 years.
9 years.
And I have to tell you, the sheriff department does the best job when it comes to traffic. I know that in the southern or in the northern part of the city, you are the first ones to arrive, and I've seen firsthand how a wonderful job you do organizing all the different elements of an accident, and that is Dallas County Sheriff Department. Thank you.
Okay, I got an obscure thing for you. Were you at the karaoke deal with me and Mama?
Yes, I was.
I thought that was you.
Yes, sir.
I thought that was you, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you're very good at
I
karaoke
told
too.
John, I told Commissioner Price, I said, I think she was at the karaoke thing with me and my mama.
What were you doing at the karaoke thing with
It's a
Ron?
long story. You know what Mama wants? Mama
Were you at
gets.
a karaoke thing with me and Mom? Holy cow, I was not ready for
Price
that.
and I were not invited.
Hey, my mama's 90, and if she wants to go to karaoke, we're going to karaoke.
Right.
That is fabulous.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
And thank you
Anything-
for being a great employee.
Anything you want to say?
Just thank you for the support. Thank you for the encouragement. And it is hard out there, but we're doing the best we can.
Okay.
And thank you.
Yes.
Let's do it.
There's other people from the sheriff department here, right?
Yeah, I think
Come
all
on back, come on. and
All of her
let's-
Let's take a
commands,
picture.
And let's,
all of her command. Come on.
come on,
Yeah,
come
come
on
on.
down. Thank you, guys, and we appreciate everything you do.
Come on. Now, y'all coming up here.
But did you sing? You didn't sing. We had to go. We had to go. We had to come.
wasn't saying it. I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, I thought that was you.
Only you at karaoke.
And
Well,
congratulations.
I mean, I wouldn't be there if someone had invited me.
Yeah.
If Mama had invited me, I would have got there and I would have called you. Well, I didn't get an invitation to your birthday party either.
Here we go.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Yeah, day after Christmas.
You all think I have my
I have
dramatic
the next
pen.
resolution as well, and that includes edits from what was posted, and I'll read that revised resolution now. And I believe all my colleagues got a copy of the revisions. Whereas on May 25, 2022, following a year-end award ceremony on campus at Robb Elementary, 19 children and 2 adults were gunned down in Uvalde, Texas. What was the second deadliest school shooting in American history, behind Sandy Hook, elementary, where 26 people lost their lives? And whereas in 2015, when Governor Greg Abbott took office, or since he took office, there have been 6 mass shootings and a combined loss of 92 lives in the state of Texas and 111 injured. And whereas red flag laws were discussed by Governor Abbott after the El Paso shooting, but then later shelved following the election, these laws have been passed in the Republican state of Florida. And whereas while the U.S. House of Representatives has passed nationwide bills with safety measures, those bills remain stalled in the Senate. There are not 60 votes there to open debate. And whereas the Texas legislature has failed to pass several reforms that objectively could have played a role in preventing both high-profile mass shootings and all too prevalent instances of gun violence. At the current time, the legislature is not in session and will not return until January 2023. And whereas while most Texas schools have dismissed for the summer, there are a finite number of days that action can be taken before schools reopen for the next year. Administrators, faculty, and staff, as well as students and their parents, deserve the comfort of knowing that swift action was taken to address the overwhelming concern of looming domestic terror on campuses and in communities across this state. Whereas the only person in the state of Texas who can call a special session to address mass shootings to protect our children and residents is the Honorable Governor Greg Abbott. And whereas Governor Abbott has called special sessions in the recent past to address issues that did not present a threat to the lives of Texas residents, now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby respectfully ask Governor Greg Abbott to call a special session and allow those Democrats and Republican legislators who have expressed a desire to pass common sense and effective laws to protect the people of this state from mass shootings. Further, the court requests the following topics be included in the special session: raising the age to buy an assault rifle to 21 years, red flag laws, universal background checks on all gun sales with no loopholes, strengthening mental health funding through Medicaid expansion, like states that originally expanded under Republican leadership, such as Arizona, Michigan, Ohio, New Jersey, Nevada, New Mexico, Dakota, and more recently Arkansas and Oklahoma, and I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Judge, but I do want to add, I find a little bit, as we continue, everybody always goes to the mental health piece. Let me just say in Dallas County, and next quarter, I'm going to do a presentation. As we know, we're going to be the beneficiary of a facility in this region, and I appreciate all that. But let me just tell you, and by the way, congratulations to the Dallas County Sheriff's Department. We are in compliance with the Commission on Jail Standards as of last week. But 400 individuals are there right now that are waiting beds in the state hospitals. 400 individuals. And I'm not sure about the numbers, but, less than 100 of them are sitting there with misdemeanor cases. And again, this is the same state that took money out of mental health and put it on the, quote, border. This is the same state, that speaks with 4 or 5 tongues. I mean, at some point in time, take a stand and stand there. Mental health is a problem. I'm not gonna lay it all on mental health. I'm gonna lay some of it on just evilness. I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier, wickedness. I get that, but at some point in time, we've got to say, you can't take millions of dollars that's been appropriated for mental health challenges in this state, and all of a sudden do a shift, a political diatribe to the border, and then all of a sudden say, well, we need to do something about mental health. We need to stand, and we need to take a position. I agree with the judge, usually, you know, this kind of stuff, it's another resolution, call a special session. I mean, what the hell is there to, I mean, most of those individuals have been, like you say, less than 21 years of age. What is it? What is it in this country that has a certain profile that continues to tell a young person, primarily men, primarily white men, at 18, I want a gun? Not a pistol, not, as Gil Scott said, not a 22. I want an AR-15. Really? And so what's complicated about saying, hey, you need to be 21. You go buy the damn gun if that's what you're going to do. I mean, it's nothing complicated about all of this. And yet and still, you know, here we are in this voter suppression democracy, talking about, you know, this is what we need to do. How much longer? How long? Anyway, I'm finished.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that, too, that I think that this resolution addresses the multifaceted issue that this is, that there are a number of ways that we as leaders, we as a society can address the killings that are going on. And yes, there is the lack of support for mental health services by the state of Texas for many, 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 many years. And so I am looking forward to our governor standing up and saying, yes, we must address that, and thus help local and state agencies provide the needed services. But that does not overshadow the fact that there are other items, and it is looking around the world and seeing where the types of killings that happen in the United States, and what are the factors that attribute to that. Part of that is the number of guns that are here, and anything that we can do responsibly to address that with respect to individuals' rights, but also the public rights that we have. And that's why I will be supporting this resolution.
Thank you, Judge, for bringing this resolution forward. I'm very glad that is a unanimous vote. Commissioner Koch, I think the changes that you did to the resolution were good changes. But the reality continues. You know, this is not the first mass shooting. Since 2014 in the state of Texas have had 7 mass shootings with a total of more than 50 lives, you know, lost, innocent, mostly all of them. At least 50 innocent lives have been taken due to these shootings in less than a decade in the state of Texas alone. We can see that teachers and law enforcement have also paid the highest price while serving others. And I think Commissioner Price said mental health is a big issue, and yes, it's a big issue, and we know the governor is going to create another task force where we're going to all give input, and mental health is going to come at the top of the priority, and we're going to put more money into mental health that is highly needed, and we're going to create more programs that are also highly needed. But the reality persists, you know, that weapons of mass destruction are for mass killing. That's the truth and the reality. And we all, I believe, know the importance of the Second Amendment. Nobody wants to take your guns away. You know, what we really asking is sensible gun laws that take away the weapons of mass destruction, like an AR-15, out of people that can get them without any kind of licensing, without any way to knowing how to handle them. And until we do that, how many times are we going to sit down around this horseshoe and discuss this? praying and crying for innocent lives being lost. But more importantly, you know, I was reading the other day that more than 5% of Americans' children have witnessed a shooting. You know, it's time for us to focus on how we are going to address all this without changing any of the current law. And how much are we going to wait before we can go shopping to a Walmart, where we can go to pray to our church, our synagogue, you know, or go just plainly send our kids to school. If I have young children, I will, you know, not only be infuriated, you know, it's time to do something. And I think this resolution says that. Let's stop doing what we've been doing for 10 years and protected the special interest, you know, and do something that really has an impact. Weapons of mass destruction are not for hunting, you know, are not for personal protection. So with that, Judge, you know, I am going to support this resolution, and I'm just going to close saying, you know, that it's not, we talk about racism this morning, we talk about art, we talk about mental health. Well, let me tell you, let me close with saying that all these shootings disproportionately affect people of color and communities of color.
No.
So it's time for us not to forget, so it's time to vote too. Yeah. Muchísimas gracias, thank you.
Yep. And I want to thank Judge Jenkins for making those changes, made it, there's still some things in here that maybe I don't 100%, you know, see the way through it, but the legislature has to discuss Medicaid expansion, right? Not a huge fan, but they should discuss it regarding, you know, how are we going to fund mental health appropriately, because it's not being funded appropriately. Raising the age to buy a rifle, you know, that makes sense. I always bristle a little bit at assault rifle, because it's a semi-automatic rifle and it just happens to be black instead of a wood stock. So that, you know, as a gun guy, that's one of those things. But these are things that need to be discussed, right, on what type of weapons should be available to an 18-year-old, when we've continually seen how 18-year-olds do not need these weapons in their hands unless, you know, we're doing agricultural work or other things. But I think, and I just want to touch on this briefly, Uvalde and some of these other mass shootings have captured our attention, but we can't lose track of the fact that the vast majority of people killed by gun violence, it's 1 and 2 at a time, and they're happening in our community every day. In the last 12 months, the minors who have been killed, we just pulled a list of the minors that have been killed. You know, 15-year-old in Oak Cliff, 14-year-old in East Dallas, 15-year-old in Garland, Comadre Anderson in Mesquite, Marvin Rivera was found shot in a car, he was 16, 17-year-old Salvador Milan in Rochester Park, Jayla Washington Jr. was 3 years old, an 11-year-old boy was killed in southeast Oak Cliff, 17-year-old Jorge Hernandez was shot in a car, 15-year-old DeQuinlan Valentine was killed in West Oak Cliff. 3 teens in Garland were killed, Xavier Gonzalez, Ivan Yolala, and Rafael Garcia. 14-year-old Navia Foster was found shot at Mountain Creek Lake. 16-year-old Christian Avila was fatally shot in an apartment in Northwest Dallas. 16-year-old Mariah Foreman was killed in Southeast Dallas. 14-year-old, name not released, was killed in Northeast Dallas. Kemuel Smith was shot in Far East Dallas. He was 17, and 16-year-old was fatally shot in Redbird. The name wasn't released there. That's incomplete. That's just the ones that we could pull from recent media. That was the easy ones, right? None of these are easy.
Yeah.
So asking the legislature to take, you know, a good hard look right now, while people are still focused on Uvalde, and hopefully we'll continue to focus on some of the wider issues. I mean, I have 4 guns in my home. My son's 10 years old, and, you know, he's already been, you know, shown around them, and he's, you know, shot the pellet guns and so forth, but he is quickly understanding the destructive nature of those weapons, and will hopefully also know that whenever mental issues arise, whenever there's stress and anxiety, whenever he is having thoughts of self-harm, he can come to me or his mother, And that's going to be that delicate balance that we're going to have to start to work toward. We're not working hard enough with our young men. We're just not. Black, white, Hispanic, we are not working hard enough with our young men. And as we continue to do that, they will continue to become more and more destructive.
But the oppressed take on the ways of the oppressor. And one of the things that has happened, people in like communities, unfortunately, assault and or murder people in proximity. So a lot of these mass murders, unlike Uvalde, what was the guy in El Paso, traveled halfway across the damn world? Where did the son of a gun in Buffalo come from?
Yep.
You know, see, I'm back to that racism. I agree. You know, one of the problems has been the whole issue of guns, period. It's not just about assault weapons, it's about guns, period. You know, I mean, hell, we all grew up with 22s and 410s and shotgun, 12 gauge, and went hunting. Hell, we didn't, but to hear of somebody killing somebody, that was a rarity. You've created, you know, I mean, when we're in the wild, wild west, and everybody, you know, you don't need to have any training anymore. What is it, carry? Just put something on your hip. I was coming out of Elm the other day, and I saw this guy riding a motorcycle. He had 2 guns on his hips. Like, damn, it hit me. Really? I hear you. I agree with you. We got this thing this morning with our juvenile department. I see those kids. Vice chair of the department, the court we represent them. I'm there. I see that. But something is happening, and we just dealt with one. It happened to be a Hispanic kid. 15 years, shot his mother in the head. This kid in Uvalde shoots his grandmother before he goes and does this shit. I mean, what? What's going on? I'm back to what I said earlier about NIDBA and the task and us trying to get into the schools to figure out what the hell's going on. What? You're right. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just saying that.
I think we can agree, though, it is broken young men in that sometimes called that magic window, right? That window of when young men don't yet have a fully formed frontal temporal lobe, and you know they are the most destructive force in our society between the ages of 16 and into their 30s, right? That window is the same window for multiple types of violent offenses, and we've got to be honest about it and take a much better holistic approach to making sure that we're reducing that destruction, because right now we've let it run rampant.
And do something. The key is we need to do something.
Okay.
And that's changing the laws.
All right.
Okay, Judge.
Next part of our agenda calls for
presentation, Judge, and if I can get a point of privilege right before Dr. Wong comes, let me just thank some people, because by the time we get to the consent agenda, I just want to say to, first of all, to IT, to Ms. Pauline Madrano and her staff, Callie Bartlett, Nicholas Martinez, Diana Corneria, and Rena Reina, and Ms. Madrano, thank you for the production of 1,264 checks that have been lingering out there. They worked yesterday tirelessly. They got up again this morning. IT got the file over to them. This is May 7th, ladies and gentlemen. I know it doesn't mean anything to people who get direct deposits and get their dadgum checks bi-weekly or anything, but these are people who had performed and have been performing for us for the last 5, 10, as long as 20 years, and have had to wait a month. We're talking about May 7th. We haven't even gotten to May 24th. And so I want to thank Mr. Thomas, your people that came in, Darrell Thomas, to help get this done. Doesn't mean anything to you if you're not waiting on a check. But they did that, 1,264, and it's my understanding they're now being distributed. And I just want to thank Ms. Medrano and her staff, Mr. Thomas and his staff, because they worked overtime and pulled people in to get this done. As I said, it doesn't mean anything if you you got your check and you're getting paid. There are a lot of people who work for us who are depending on that. And to wait a month, and this is the second or third time that this has occurred. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. So I just want to thank them for understanding the urgency, people calling every day. I got a litany of emails. I've shared it with staff. These people,
I think we all got a lot of those emails, and I want to thank, the auditor and obviously Ms. Medrano and their teams, because Commissioner Price is right. I mean, it's been going, slowly but surely, the amount of people that didn't get paid.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that the Elections Department had made some changes on the way that the hours are filed. Probably, Mr. Heichel, it's time for them to revise them on how we can do this system better, because I think that it's unacceptable that people have to wait so long to get paid.
We ain't never had no problem.
For
Hell,
work.
I've been here 38 years. I've never seen this problem.
Well, I mean,
Parole
we
is
had
one of those things that you would think we must do.
We have this problem.
We have
before.
never had it to Dr. Garcia.
But I understand, Commissioner. Let me just finish my thought before I lose it. But I do understand. I mean, since we have this problem before, we have never seen that many people coming at once with the same problem. So I would like to review the process that we're currently using to be sure that this is not only fixed, but accelerated. There's no excuse for people to have to wait such a long time for their check of, especially when it comes to elections, that, it's the kind of personnel that we're constantly looking with, constantly trying to encourage, we constantly try to retain, for saying it one way or another, and we cannot fail them this way. Thank you.
I would like to say, too, that yes, there have been issues with elections and getting the checks out, but I had also understood that there were changes being made in the election department that we're going to address and correct those. So payroll is one of those things that we do, without a doubt, day in, day out. Therefore, these kinds of issues are not acceptable in any stretch of the imagination. So I share Commissioner Price and Commissioner Garcia's concerns, and do thank the number of departments, the auditor, the treasurer, IT, for getting this moved along when there were issues. And it must not be repeated.
All right, Dr. Wong, you want to give us a presentation?
All right. Good morning. We remain in the green low level of transmission at this point, but we are, and as you'll see with the data, continuing to see sort of a moderate but steady increase in the number of cases, but this is in the context of low numbers of cases to begin with. So for the general population, about a little over 13% week over week increase in new cases. For youth, it was actually less than 1% week over week increase in cases. Here's the available ICU beds. Again, has remained relatively flat recently. Confirmed emergency department visits. We are seeing also some increases, again, sort of moderate increases in some of the hospital numbers. This is the most recently emergency department visits in the prior 24 hours. Confirmed admissions, again, you can see that upward trend, but this is still at some very low numbers, relatively speaking, to what we've seen in the past. Confirmed inpatients, again, that upward slope, but still quite low. And then deaths are remaining very low, fortunately. I mean, I think we're seeing also, I mean, we know that there's a lot of unreported transmission going on, and probably anecdotally, all of you are hearing about people who've been very careful throughout this, that are testing positive. I think it reflects just how easily transmitted now the subvariant of the Omicron variant that's circulating is. It's just really easily transmitted. In terms of vaccinations, we are now at about 75% of those 5% 5 years and older that have received at least one dose, and about 64% of the 5 and older that are fully vaccinated. We are anticipating that, I think June 15th, the FDA will be considering the vaccination for those kids under 5. Unfortunately, the numbers of vaccinations also in Dallas County, it's still about 1,600 doses per week. So that's still, you know, not as many certainly as we've had in the past. And there's still a lot of people who haven't received the primary series, as well as those that are now eligible for boosters. And again, with the Omicron subvariants that are so easily transmitted, really encourage people to get up to date on their vaccinations, get that booster and even second boosters if people are eligible. And then here's the breakdown on the persons that are vaccinated in Dallas County. About 1.8 million people vaccinated with at least one dose, 1.57 million fully vaccinated, but still, you know, at least over 600,000 that have been vaccinated with at least one booster. As I mentioned, some of the variants that are circulating in Texas, now the subvariant, the BA2.12.1, has been increasing in terms of the proportion compared to the BA2, but it seems to be maybe slowing down a little bit. But both of those are very easily transmitted and are certainly dominant over the original Omicron variant also. Here's the latest vaccine availability. I think graduation season's over, so Ellis Davis is back in operation at a reduced scale, though. And then here's some of the testing sites and their hours. And here are some of the latest vaccination outreach that we have scheduled. I do want to just go through some information about monkeypox in light of the growing international outbreak of monkeypox that I'm sure you're hearing about. You know, it's a very rare disease, but it's caused by infection with the monkeypox virus. It's in the same sort of family as the viruses that cause smallpox, also the virus used in the smallpox vaccine, and cowpox virus. First discovered in 1958 when there were outbreaks of a pox-like disease in colonies of monkeys that were kept for research, and that's how it's got the name monkeypox. And first human case was in 1970 in Democratic Republic of Congo, and since then there have been reported cases in other Central and West African countries primarily. And so in May and June of this year, CDC has been tracking multiple cases that have been reported in several countries that don't normally report monkeypox, including the U.S. We don't know at this point how many individuals are exposed, but cases do largely, large number of people who self-identify as men who have sex with men. We are hearing just perhaps some international sort of raves and other social events that might be contributing to, you know, large spread. So we've been working and urging healthcare providers to be alert for patients who have rash illness, consistent with monkeypox, whether or not they've had travel or even specific risk factors for monkeypox, and regardless.
Is your inference sexually transmitted?
Pardon?
Is your inference sexually transmitted?
Not really sexually transmitted, but with close contact. And I'll talk about, I've got a slide on the transmission, but it's not, they're still seeing if it's present in semen or vaginal fluids, but definitely that close skin contact, also close person-to-person contact for prolonged periods. It's not as easily spread as COVID, but it's more that direct contact or contact with body fluids, but I do have some slides on that too. Here's the sign and symptoms, similar but milder than smallpox. Starts out sort of with nonspecific flu-like symptoms, headache, fever, muscle aches, exhaustion. One thing different with compared to smallpox, it has swelling of the lymph nodes, while smallpox doesn't. Incubation period is usually about 7 to 14 days, can be anywhere from 5 to 21 days. And again, those are the starting symptoms that one would see. But then about 1 to 3 days after the start of fever, patient develops a rash and spreads to other parts of the body. That rash starts sort of flat and raised, and it gets into sort of vesicles and fluid-filled sores, and then perhaps pus-filled sores. Typical illness lasts for about 2 to 4 weeks. In Africa, there are 2 sort of strains. The more severe strain has been seeing death rates of as many as 1 in 10 persons who contract the disease. Thus far, most of what's been circulating and what we had, and I'll talk about it briefly, we had one case in last July here in Dallas, was of the less severe strain, but still
And last case in July, Dr. Wang, was monitored by Dallas County Health and Human Services, and nothing, I mean, you were personally involved in the case, and nothing happens as far as spreading to other people.
Right. We worked with CDC and the State Health Department, identified any possible contacts for the person who traveled, I think first from Nigeria to Atlanta, then to Dallas, identified possible contacts, monitored, working with, again, across the country. I think there were over 200 persons that were monitored for any development of symptoms for 21 days, and no one developed the symptoms.
So isolation in case that we find a positive case is 2 to 4 weeks, right? And yes. Dallas County will monitor.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr.
Let's see. In terms, again, the transmission can spread when a person comes in contact with an infected animal, infected persons, or materials contaminated with the virus, and also may be spread through direct contact with body fluids or sores of an infected person. And so usually spreads between people, primarily through direct contact with the infectious sores, scabs, or body fluids. Can be spread by respiratory secretions with prolonged face-to-face contact. And again, spread during intimate contact, including during sex, with the, again, that close contact, skin to skin, touching parts of the body with monkeypox sores. Prevention.
Phil, our doctor, a person needs to be symptomatic in all likelihood to spread it.
Right.
Correct? It's not like COVID, where I might be asymptomatic and I haven't developed symptoms, but I'm in the car with you, so I give it to you. It's not like that, right?
Right. Okay. Prevention, a number of measures can be taken. Avoiding contact with animals that might harbor the virus, avoiding contact with any materials like bedding that may have been in contact with someone who's infected, isolating any infected patients from others who can be at risk of infection, good hand hygiene, and use of personal protective equipment. There is a live virus vaccine that's been approved by FDA for prevention of monkeypox for those that might be at higher risk of exposure. Treatment, most individuals have mild self-limited disease. The prognosis depends on other factors like prior vaccination status, initial health status, concurrent illness, comorbidities, and there are medical countermeasures, not specific treatment, but there are some antivirals that have been used in patients with smallpox that there are experimental but may prove effective for this.
Most of us have been vaccinated against one type of pox or another, right?
Not, probably, depending on age, there was a time when many people were vaccinated with smallpox, not recently. So there is that cohort might have some more protection, but not like just chicken.
But the general population probably not.
Pardon?
The general population probably has not had a vaccination in a more recent
right, in more
time
recent,
to have an impact.
Yeah, if a person was previously vaccinated for smallpox a while back, then there might be some protection. you know, any monitoring of people who've been exposed, like what we did with the case we had back in July, contacts of animals or people that have been confirmed to have monkeypox should be monitored for symptoms for 21 days. There's the symptoms that I mentioned. Fever and rash occur in almost all persons infected with monkeypox virus. They should monitor temperature twice daily. If there's any symptoms that develop, the contact should self-isolate immediately, contact our health department for any further guidance. But it should be noted, contacts who remain asymptomatic can be permitted to continue routine daily activities like going to work or school, but they shouldn't do, you know, donate blood, cells, tissue, breast milk, semen, organs while they're under symptom surveillance.
I just have a question about the investments that Dallas County Health and Human Services and Dallas County have made in an electronic monitoring system for, it was targeted for COVID, but can the same system also be used to do this kind of tracking and this kind of monitoring for other public health
Absolutely. The system that we're developing and enhancing will be able to be used for other situations. This one is more of the numbers are much smaller. You know, we have a case at a time that might be investigated, but certainly that's what we're developing more, being able to enter that data into our system and for other conditions very quickly be notified of the lab results, positives, and things like that. And if it were a larger scale requiring, you know, if we needed to bring on new teams of people to be doing investigations, the new system we're developing will allow that to be stood up very quickly. Like if you think of how we had to get a lot of people on board to interview large numbers, the system we're looking at will have that capability. But with monkeypox in particular, it's very small numbers at a time.
Our experience with COVID is, I mean, it's still experience that is of value when we're looking at other public health situations.
Yeah, so it definitely we will benefit from all that modernization that we're doing. But
Thank you.
In this particular situation, fortunately, the numbers, and you know, we do get, we are receiving from physicians possible persons that we investigate you know, for this.
Again, you know what I want, and I didn't get a chance to say this to you yesterday as I was walking the building. This is such an outlier. This does not concern me. But when we have people who coming into our health venues to receive services, there needs to be a different kind of confidentiality that we provide. And we've got enough rooms. That's the reason you saw me going through every floor yesterday. I can't have my constituents sitting in the hallway waiting to get a test. You know, and Peaches or, you know, Little John come by and see me sitting there and know what the hell I'm sitting there for. We got to do a better job of dealing with that out there. Electronic, fine, get the system, but we've got to begin to treat people with respect and compassion. And sitting in the lobby is not it. And so I'm asking today for a different kind of plan in terms of all of those rooms. And I've been through those rooms before, long before you kind of reprogrammed. We've got all kind of room back there where we can get people who don't have to sit in the lobby and wait.
Sure. And I know we've had people wait out in their cars and notify them in the past. I know what the...
Well, same thing about sitting in the dadgum car. Hell, I mean, you know, it's fine. You know, with gas, they're damn sure they can't sit out in the hot-ass car, number one. Number two, you know, we got room in there. As again, when you saw me, by the time I got to the 8th floor, you know, I'd walk Will. And my position is that we've got rooms. We've got places we can put people. It's not like we got hundreds, but we can't have them sitting out in the hall.
We can definitely look at that. I know with COVID, it's been that trying to not keep people in crowded situations, but yeah, no.
But they're sitting next to each other out in the hallway, in the lobby. I stood there for a minute before I started going up and down the floors. But they're sitting there, so I mean, let's do it back in the other areas. Let's just have some kind of compassion for people who present.
Sure. I mean, we can definitely look at how they're the waiting areas and things like that. Just finally, again, this was the July 2021 travel-associated case that we did work with CDC, State Department of State Health and Services. The person had traveled from Nigeria to U.S. with 2 commercial flights, and there were over 200 people that had possible contact that were asked to monitor their health for 21 days, and after that 21 days had passed with no additional cases identified, there was the situation was essentially controlled. So that was a public health win. That was good. And again, it was a big partnership with the state and federal partners and other local health departments across the country that had residents.
So probably, Dr. Juan, when we talk about monkeypox, just be careful, especially, when you're traveling. Because in that case that you mentioned, that was monitored over 200 people that were in close contact with this individual, that was positive for monkeypox. None of them really got to be infected.
Sure. And again, this one right now, it's about over 25 cases in the U.S., over 900 cases worldwide. But I think that there are, what we're seeing and what's been concerning, just there might have been some international events where many people were together and at high risk then for transmission. And so as those persons are leaving, back to their home countries and things, then we're seeing that further transmission. So I think that's where, there's certainly concern. I know CDC then upgraded their level of control for monkeypox yesterday. But we are continuing. We have worked with the County Medical Society, issued a health alert to area physicians, urging the providers to be alert for patients who have rash illness consistent with monkeypox. And again, regardless, even if they have the travel or specific risk factors, and regardless of gender or sexual orientation, and we are following up on any reports that we get.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Juan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Price has the next president. I don't have a presentation today, so Commissioner Price, you're up.
Well, as I said, Dr. Garcia, the last 2 years, I wouldn't want to disappoint y'all. And unfortunately, whether you're talking about America or worldwide, I said this a few weeks ago when they were dealing with Ukraine and what was happening to people who look like me, who were trying to get on the trains in Ukraine as they were being pushed off. People, that's one thing, Peter Tosh, the good musician, said, no matter where you come from, you're still in Africa. And even in Ukraine, as they showed pictures of people trying to get on the train and to flee, they were being pressed and pushed off. And so today, the monkey mug comes from Ansa, Rome, not 100 years ago, not 50 years ago, 2 weeks. A black Italian youth league female soccer referee received racial insults from the defeated under-15 team after a game near Piacenza in northern Italy recently. A sporting judge said in fining the club €500 Thursday that players from Pontalisa Gazzola Club were found to have shouted, and I quote, "cotton fields for this one," unquote, and, quote, "concentration camps for this." At the ref, after she officiated a 2-0 home defeat by Sao Paulo. But let's look at the bright side at least. At least she didn't get a monkey mug for her hard work and diligent efforts. Parkland Hospital has taken a vice president and made that individual a senior vice president who was involved in the distribution of monkey mugs as a prize for African people. The travesty is not that it was supposed to be a teaching moment. The fact is that Parkland has now graduated. This woman went from a vice president to a senior vice president in the 2 years of chronicling on monkey mugs. And nobody sees any issue with regards that she's insulted an entire community, but only in Dallas. And we continue to talk about hate speech. We continue to talk about nothing, creating an atmosphere. This is the same individual when employees complained about her, they were retaliated and they were reassigned. Same individual, but now she's a senior vice president. And you continue to wonder what's wrong in the world. It's only what you permit that lasts. With regards to the electronic disposition reporting update of the judge's judicial performance at Frank Crowley, I am pleased that criminal justice is tracked, that it appears as though they will hit their August target, and therefore they will get the participation prize of $50 million that we all will get with hitting the 90%. And unfortunately, it took all of that to do that. Go ahead. This hasn't been all of the judges. Some of the judges have been performing. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, Commissioner. There was a call for help, if you will, regarding the lines that were extending well down the stairway in front of the Frank Crowley building recently. I guess this was yesterday.
Oh, what?
There was only one entrance open, and it was going really slowly. There was only one metal detector, yeah, at Frank Crowley. And one of the judges made complaint of it on social media, rather than coming right to us right away, which is always a little bit of a problem. I don't know if that problem has been rectified. I believe
it's been dealt with. Mr.
I can address. What happened yesterday was, as the folks were coming into the building, downstairs at security, folks were distributing masks to them, and that's what slowed this whole process down. Spoke to the fire marshal. We had some conversation with who's doing that and said, look, if judges want folks to wear masks, when the jurors get to the courtroom, that's where the distribution of that device needs to take place, not people entering into the building. We work with the marshal's office, the sheriff department, and the issue from yesterday has been corrected so that there's no longer going to be this issue with these long lines.
So it wasn't the metal detectors, it was the holding up, passing out the masks.
Correct, because some of them want everyone to wear a mask in the building, and we said, well, okay, that's not the point of distribution for that to happen because it slows down the entire process. Yeah. That meaning the check-in station. If you want that, do it in the courtrooms prior to them entering into the courtroom, and that has been addressed.
But see, that's my point. that's, you know what, it just got to, first of all, Supreme Court has just given the 51st emergency order regarding the disaster. So they have now moved the effective order from June 1st to expire on August the 1st on all of this Zooming. I pulled the order yesterday. So I've got that. You know, you can find any damn excuse you want to. You know, all you need to do is just show for work. You know, the reason I pulled this order is because a number of my justice courts, first of all, if it's on a 61 day and they have not heard the case, they're supposed to vacate the damn case. You know, Judge O'Brien in Garland, she's not doing it. I'm gonna start calling names, because see, the problem is I'm lumping these judges. You know, if Judge Kennedy is performing, you know, I don't need to lump her in with everyone else. So I run this case down, I get a complaint. The case was filed back in January. Should have been dismissed on the 61st day. Let me just tell you, they're just not getting ready to have a hearing. The damn case should be dismissed. And number two, they filed it in another court on something else. You know, and the problem with this, a lot of this Zooming is that, first of all, the Supreme Court did not put any kind of, you know, everybody talking about the local, this is the Supreme Court. They did not put any policies in place. And so now you got people saying, I'm entitled to a Zoom call, and, you know, you're calling, you've been served, and you're calling 15 minutes before court. You can't do that. And so while I'm talking about local judges, Supreme Court is not with, you know, hands aren't clean as well. They issue these daggum orders. I pulled it to make sure the policies are not there to give some direction to people who are working. And so, yeah, maybe it's something that's in the water. So everybody meets the 90% and gets surprised. But there are a lot of judges who have been performing, and I invite the public to look and see, you know, who has been performing. I mean, it's almost a raffle to get into the garage now. So many people that are in there working, and I appreciate that. That's what it was supposed to be all about anyway. And so I applaud. We're going to make the 90. It appears as though if we stay on course, we're going to make the 90.
Commissioner, but I do want to give the DA's office that, because there have been, I mean, we are 1,745 cases away from reaching that 90%.
But that's August.
Well, if we continue doing 224 cases per day, we should hit that goal by June 26th, if we continue doing that.
I get it.
But the DA's office, though, has been really, particularly LaFane McCall, working real hard with the CJD Department, Criminal Justice Department, to get those old cases disposed. And so I do want to, as they've done in the last 3 years, worked real closely with the county to help us in reaching that 90%. Not discounting what the judges are doing, but the DA's office in particular has done a yeoman's job in helping us hit 90%.
And I totally agree, and thank you, Mr. Michael, because I did on yesterday on the call, we did talk about, I think Ms. Lindbergh brought up, you know, all that FAME has been doing, but she's always been, you know, that person. But at the end of the day,
I want to commend the judges, the DA, and also our IT and the people in the back office, if you will, who have done so much work on this. Ms. Kraft, very much appreciate your work on that. Thank you. Looks like if we get it in June, it'll be earlier than we had. Usually it was July, so that's great. We're getting it.
well, exactly. But the hell, that's what it was designed to do. My point is August is the, you know, a sine die. So I get that. Now, you know, I'm still going to talk about the fact that I guess it's just Harris County and Dallas County that has these dadgum backlog courts. And I understood yesterday on our bi-weekly meeting that, at least from the, Ms. Richardson, from the the misdemeanor side of the aisle, they're processing moving forward. Is that correct? Okay. And in now my understanding that the felony judges have begun to move in that direction as well. Okay, they started yesterday. Yeah. But you know, and again, Judge, I don't, first of all, they won't leave no $50 million. Number two, I mean, we just need to get back to it. I listened to Dr. Wong and what he said. You know, they keep kicking the Zoom down the road, saying, "Oh, now it's, it's August 1st." Hell, just come back to work. I mean, it's just that it's simple. You want to put on a mask? Put on your mask. Put on your gloves. Put on whatever. Come back to work. That's it. But a number of the judges have been performing. And I think the next presentation, it's going to be incumbent because, as I said, I still want to deal with this whole issue of mental health and the fact that we've got 400 individuals, 400 out of 50. I think the midnight count was 5,900? 5,900 midnight count, 400 of them over a year, not going anywhere. 400 being restored and then decompensating again. A year sitting there. So, I mean, we've got, I mean, it's, I hear all these resolutions and challenges. At some point in time, and again, that's the state. That's the state responsibility. But what I'm going to separate is the wheat from the chaff, because I want to talk about how many of them are misdemeanors and what else we can do to get of that 400, get them out of the system and into the community.
And Commissioner Price, I'm cautiously optimistic in, seeing the same numbers, but I think it's also important to express that some of the things that the district attorney's office has had to do, and some of the other wheels, here in justice, have essentially dismissed cases that would have been good cases under circumstances where they were being tried in a timely manner, right? And there is going to be a significant risk to the community that we're going to have reoffenders because, of the 1,000, right? There was the one guy that should have gone away for a while, right? There are some things that slipped between the cracks. And unfortunately, it's going to be on law enforcement to be extremely vigilant. And we're already seeing those upticks in violence, even though, I can absolutely say with certainty that our local law enforcement agencies are really doing a good job right now. Dallas Police and under Chief Garcia, they're in a great direction. They still need more officers. They're in a great direction. I can say it of Irving. I can say it of Garland from what I've seen.
Mesquite's been number one. Bring them in. We break them down each time we have a committee meeting in terms of felonies, Class A's, B's. We know Mesquite's number one. Garland's number two. We do that, and we're doing it for a couple of reasons because we still have a lawsuit. That's number one. And so we began to ferret out that information. So Captain Rounds and Chief William, they're making sure that we ferret that information so we can know what's going on with regards to these cases. It does give us concern. And you said the district attorney has been very considerate, even to the fact that we no longer have that barrier wherein they got to do the assessment. Yeah. The assessment. Judge Crusoe basically moved and said, "Okay, we'll deal with the case and we'll let it come back to do the assessment."
Yeah, and in a perfect world, I see exactly where he's coming from, wanting to do those assessments before allowing it to plea. But we are in this situation now. I think that's a shift that I don't think is going to have a large amount of unintended consequences. But certainly from the dismissals and some of the other stuff that we've had to do because the judges weren't working at the pace they needed to, there is going to be a cost to it, right? Nothing in life is free, and one of those costs is going to be repeat offenders, or offenders that would have been taken off the streets initially. And I think it's important for the public to know that. I think it's important that we express that because yes, we're going to keep the money. Keep our 50
Criminal
million.
justice.
But it came at a cost.
Criminal justice is monitoring. And we're going to, Ms. Randolph and her team, they're monitoring to see, what cases and when people recidivate. Is that correct, Mr. Heichel?
Commissioner, that is correct, and not to disagree with anyone, but I want to make sure that, I know I said that the DA's office is working close with us in dismissing cases, that they're doing so based upon what's the principle they call in the interest of justice. And so from the meetings I've had with them, we're very mindful of even the cases. And again, we're talking about cases from 2016 to 2020, that 5-year period we're looking at. And in the midst of making those decisions, various factors to look at in terms, but always in the interest of what we call in the interest of justice. So they're mindful of not dismissing cases where there's a violent offender out there and those kind of things. Yeah. Or there's a case where there's a victim out there, they're mindful of those things. And so based upon what they've done in the past as well.
Right, and be very clear, violent offenders are not candidates.
For dismissal in this 5-year,
They're
correct.
not candidates. Violent offenders are not candidates. Yes.
Well, and I just want to close by saying that I think that this court has brought forward some of the challenges, within the whole system. We know that no one wheel moves as a single part with the, district attorney's office, with all the judges. And nevertheless, we've seen the challenges that we're facing, not only within Dallas County, I think within all municipalities when it comes to criminal justice system. And I find refreshing that we're working together, that we know that we're going to have challenges as every single step of the way. But nevertheless, we need to be careful on how we do it and be sure that we continue to help each other, because at the end of the day, every single part of that process can have failures, and we've seen them one too many times. Well, we can.
But my mom said every tub's got to sit on its own bottom. Hell, I just need you to come to work. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. Every tub needs to sit on its own bottom.
Yes, Commissioner, but at the end of the day, we also have to work together, and I think that's what we're trying to do.
What the hell does that mean? Tell me, if you'll tell me one tool.
And that's a positive way.
If you'll tell me one tool that we have not given when somebody say, hey.
I'm on record saying that, but I think that as a positive conversation and discussion, we just, we're starting to see the line at the end of the tunnel. So anyway. Thank you so much, Mr. Heichel and Mr. Bazan, for, helping the judges, fixing everything yesterday. I think that, sadly, it was a crack that happened. Thank you.
I know that we have been presented with a lot of data on court-by-court performance of the processing of cases over a number of years, and so feel that we have a particular view of the situation. Having seen some of the very in-depth presentation of that case status, I would like to know that in fact that information is being used by the individual courts to move cases along when they can do it safely and with a consciousness about what that particular case is and the impact in the community. But all that being said, because I know that there's the observation made that we just don't know sitting here what's going on there. Granted, we're not sitting on each of those benches, but we do see a lot of information from numbers in the aggregate and the court-by-court performance. And so do see that there is a difference on how courts behave, react. And I would like to know that that information is being used to, in fact, identify those cases that can be moved along.
I issued an email this morning about excuses. And my mom and them had one. I can't, as the older I get, the more, but she said they're like,
Here we go.
Yeah, back body parts. I don't need to sit where they sit. All I need them to do, as you say, I can see, look at the data, come to work. Again, I'll put Nancy Kennedy up. I'll look at her numbers. She's drunk. And like I said, I haven't even dealt with, now we're hearing complaints on the civil side, I'm hearing complaints on the probate side.
And we need to pivot there soon.
Yeah, I am.
Because and number one is family, because they got a letter from OCA.
Yeah.
They received a letter from OCA regarding their throughput.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that, I'm just, there's nothing, it'd be different. They say, them damn commissioners, I asked for something and they didn't give it to me. Bull. There's nothing they've asked that we have not provided. And it's like me complaining, I can complain about building roads if you don't give me, what I need. But if I got to do cemented treat base, I got to order it 6 weeks out. I just got to make my plans, and then I got to go on down the road. But there's no excuses. I just got to program it and go and do something else. Show up for work. That's all I'm saying. That's all. That's it. And again, I that's it. Okay. Okay, Jay. The consent.
Are you done?
Yeah, consent agenda.
All right, next we're on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda? Do you want to separate out sheriff's personnel or do it all together?
Yes, I pulled sheriff personnel.
Is Mr. Wilson?
He's not here today,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
yes. Yeah,
Mr. Wilson,
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
see you.
yeah, 'cause,
We
you know,
did have, well, since Mr.
And the
Wilson
reason
is
I want him to come up, we're publishing, we published this dadgum dashboard, and I don't know if we got it up today, but if we didn't, I didn't ask him at the last minute.
Sure.
But I want to, maybe he does have it. Okay, because we keep sitting here and talking about what the heck's going on in our various departments, and separating them out. But I want you to look at this, and look at the sheriff's department versus. Let's talk about the dadgum county clerk. 20. My glasses are good as these. 20% dadgum turnover, leading the county. And if you look at the sheriff's department and see where they are, that's not the issue. I guess what I'm saying, and Mr. Wilson, I'll let you. I don't want to talk over your dashboard, but what it basically says is there's a cost factor that's involved in this thing, and we keep talking about sheriffs and all. They're doing a lot of retention. The cost is in some of these other offices where we have, again, elected officials that we've given them every dadgum thing in the world, and they're losing employees. Mr. Wilson?
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead, Mr. Wilson. Explain also, what is the cost of retention factor? How do you do that?
Absolutely, I'm happy to do that. So we track this on a quarterly basis, and this is our most recent HR dashboards. We track the large departments, and then the red bar in the middle of the graph is our average attrition for the county. And so over the past 12 months, we've gone from darn near flat 9% overall attrition to close to 15% right now. So that's the reality of the market. I kind of see that as the baked in, what we're dealing with. And so we did a calculation, if you include training and time to get up to speed, and so conservatively a percentage of attrition costs us about $5 million on a county this large.
Attrition has cost us $5 million.
Per percentage point.
Per percentage point.
And so we did a lot of work to build that out. So we're looking at, with that jump of 5 or 6%.
Can you raise the volume just a little bit?
Sure. And so we're looking at an increase of about 6% overall, or 5% overall in our attrition, approaching 6%. And so what's interesting is this creates this has put us on the back foot a little bit as far as our approach toward hiring. So what this means is we've now gone from hiring roughly 450 employees a year to we're pushing 1,000 at this point. And so what happens is, I've shifted resources to be able to process people through. Departments are shifting resources and their time and focus, because now in this market, if I put a rec out, if I'm not contacting an employee in that rec in 72 hours, I'm not going to get them, right? And so some of our
some of our past behavior, we could be a little more flexible with that. We could set a rec out there for 30 days and then decide to go in and figure out who my top people are. We're not doing that anymore. So we're reacting to that. So all of our plates are full with the different missions that our organizations have and where we spend our time. And so this shift toward spending more time on identifying talent and getting talent on the board, in board, is it's a band, it's creating some bandwidth issues for us.
But are you able to, from your position,
right,
to be able to take this policy, massage this policy in such a way that you can begin to deal with that 72 hours?
Sure. So some of the things that we're bumping up against. So if you look to the left side with some of these elected officials that the commissioner has alluded to, those are a lot of grade 6, grade 7, grade 8 clerks, and there's a constant churn. So with that, we're looking at, and some of the things we've done in the past is when we've gone to give employees raises, we reclassified the job, right? So the unintended consequence of that is we've now increased the amount of education and the amount of experience that someone has, and the job hasn't really changed, right? So as I'm trying to expand our pool of eligibles to say people right out of high school to seniors, right, I've got a 2-year work requirement or perhaps an AA. And so to me, in talking with the elected officials, do these people really need 2 years of experience to do some of these entry-level jobs? And the answer is no. So it's waiving those requirements. It's going back in and going, do we really need to vet if someone's got a high school degree? What's the risk? Or are we just going to take at their word? They're signing their attestation that they submitted the right documents. And so some of those can speed up the process. Now, when you get to more technical qualifications, higher degrees, we still need to check that out. So what we're doing now.
Well, stop. But technical qualifications, again, has a variance. Because there are a number of people who can do the job who have certificates who don't have the quote, BA degree in chronos from Boo Boo University.
Sure, exactly. And so right now we're researching. So my goal is, we'll talk about IT, right? There are certifications that people in IT get. And so in looking through that, the practice of how that's awarded are usually, for certification, you get some equivalent of 3 credit hours or something like that, right? And so what we're going through is, I think, trying to define what is that credit we get and how do we do that. Now, I also want to have an entire program for that entire division penned out before I just start going, hey, I'm having a problem with this job, let's figure out how the credits work, because then there's this unintended consequence. If I don't have this figured out, for the entire department, it'll create problems in the long run. But we do intend to honor those certificates and treat them with some sort of, as a part of the qualification.
But Mr. Wilson, this is a challenge. And I understand this started before the pandemic, at least with me. I've been working with you since you got hired. Is how do we make Dallas County the place that people want to come and work? How do we retain them? And more importantly, how can we hire a diverse group of people that reflects Dallas County as a whole? And that is the biggest challenge. Sure. And as you and I and Dr. Watkins have talked about it, sometimes it's going to come to the fact that we need to have a better way to work in all of these positions. How do we work with other organizations like Dallas College? And I know you, Mr. Bazan, Mr. Martin, have been working with many of these elected officials on how can they help us train the workforce that comes directly to Dallas County with better opportunity and salaries, because that's going to be a key, and more importantly, flexible working hours, which is what we've been talking for, a year and a half now. And can you elaborate on what are we doing to change this picture? Because this picture is not going to change as much as I would know every 2 weeks. We need to change, the facts and where we fish in the pond.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. So,
I'm sorry. No, go ahead and answer that. But I'm just wondering, as I'm looking at these, could we? It's probably a good idea to do a survey monkey sort of a thing for every body.
Survey dog,
right? But especially the ones that are far outpacing the mean. You know, if we could use that and provide that to the elected official and their top, you know, day-to-day administrators, maybe we could see what it is. Because like when I look at the clerk, I'm thinking, well, that, you know, a lot of those are our lowest paid jobs, right?
Right.
And so I go in at the lowest paid job, I get an opportunity to go somewhere else, I get paid more money, I'm probably gonna take the more money job. So, you know, but sometimes it might be the way the supervisor is treating the employee, so.
Yeah, but y'all can say all of them.
Well, can you answer my question, Mr. Wilson, because.
I'm sorry, yeah, please.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. So we're currently engaging with Dallas College. We've had some contacts that have been provided to us, and so we've got an internship program that we're going to get underway, and we've already got 4 departments, a couple elected officials, and a couple internal ones to get this program off the ground. And part of that program is to target students, right, that can expand the diversity of our organization. That's very important to me. We've also got forgive me, I can't remember the name of it. We got facilities set up with the president of, is it Eastfield? No, what's the college?
Mountain View College.
Mountain View College, thank you. And we're working with facilities to put in place opportunities for employees that perhaps don't have complete mastery of English, but are proficient enough, and we evaluate each job, right? What's the level of proficiency that's needed, and then provide an avenue for additional employees to come in. The third factor that we're really engaging in now is now that we're back to be able to meet people face to face, right? And we plan on every month touring the county, and then I'm asking, you know, I'm committing to setting up teams and all the materials necessary and takeaway kits so that we can be on the road recruiting from each department, very targeted locations within the community. And I think that will begin, you know, the first 2 are smaller, but once we get it going and other departments see it, it's a successful way to bring talent in. Others will do that. And then we have our social media presence that we're working on. And so we were working with a company called.
But you're dancing around. To the left is elected officials for the most part.
Sure. So you're going to have more churn with the lower churn. You're going to have higher attrition generally with those grade 6, grade 7, grade 8 clerks. That's just the nature. And so I don't have the information with me how it's changed.
Where is the district clerk versus the county clerk here? Okay, that's number one. Number 2, juvenile department.
Right.
I mean, it's totally different now that they're doing a different administration. I mean.
Sure. And they hire in a different proportion, and they hire in a different pay levels, and that's what Mr. Wilson is trying to say that makes the difference.
So we've just concluded the first engagement survey that we've done, right? And I'm getting ready to roll out those.
I need you to speak up and stay up. Yes.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I'm keep getting away from this thing. So we rolled out the first engagement survey, and that's been completed, and that's really a report card, right, of how our employees, do they feel engaged? Are they happy in their job? Are they likely to recommend Dallas County as a place to work, right? So I've got those results now. I'll be sharing them with all of you, and that goes to your point. Within that, we're able to find what are the things that we're doing that are potentially driving employees away.
Right.
So I've got that. It's ready to roll out. I've kicked it off with the department heads and setting up time with each one of you to go through that, and you'll have some insights in there to answer your question directly, Commissioner.
Right. I'm clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you forgot to mention that it's not just Dallas College that we're working on those internships with, right? We've got UTA.
Correct.
Is very interested, and then another emerging.
Right, UTD, correct.
Yep, and then also DigiPen is also going to be working on this as well.
Right.
Yep.
So there are a lot of activity going on right now.
Okay, you want, at some point in time. Okay, you want still separate out sheriff's personnel. So can I get a motion on the rest of the personnel?
So moved.
Okay, you got some motion. Okay, that's fine. Got a motion and a second. You can second it. Got a motion and a second. Is there any unreadiness? All in favor, let it be known by use of sign of voting.
Aye.
Those who oppose, same sign. Sure. Now sheriff's personnel.
Now we need a motion on sheriff's personnel.
Don't move.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Abstain.
And I'll also abstain. Motion carries 2-1. Next, this takes us to the court order. I don't have any pulls.
I think we have to pull.
Yes, you did.
35, 36.
I pulled, yeah.
35 and 36.
35 and 36 I pulled. And really, I just really want to pull 36. I'm ready to go forward, but anyway, I pulled 35 and 36.
All right, so then I need a motion on court orders M1 through addendum 48, pulling 35 and 36.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
And could just real quick comment to Dr. Carlo, PRISM, to our HHS, 25, long overdue. We're going to have a different service regimen in terms of the constituents that are the benefactors of that particular service. So thank you to HHS for making sure you got through. Thank you to PRISM for being that kind of partner.
For having the leadership, to move it forward from all the consultants all the way to all the partners and organizations.
thank
We
you.
appreciate you too, Dr. Huang, for your leadership as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Long-term commitment.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you for staying with us this long, Dr. Carlos.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, call the question.
Oh, no, I have some comments
Okay.
too.
Yeah, never go ahead.
I wanted to, I did, and I apologize for sending it with such late timing. We have an item, item number 11. I did left a message for Ms. Randolph. I think this is a great program with.
Commissioner, I have the answer to
She
the
did?
question.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm
They're
sorry.
total of two, one bilingual and one non-bilingual.
Perfect.
Yes,
So, I mean, there will be a bilingual person with this grant. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Mr. Heupel. That was my question to her this morning. Also, the creation of an inland port, Dallas County Local Government Corporation. I believe that this is a good timing, Mr. Martin. Thank you for bringing this. I would also like to see, and this is what I wanted to ask you, and I know we can do it, and Commissioner Price, I know it's in your district, bringing people that to these governmental corporations that we're about to create that have different expertise within, the business and, imports, exports, et cetera, transportation, that are a diverse group of people and expertise. And I don't know what those expertise will be, but if we can start working to find some, those people that will be better representing. I know Dallas County is going to have 2. Did I read that correctly?
No, we're
We're
gonna
going to
have
have 4?
We're gonna have 3.
We're gonna have 3.
We're gonna have
And
three.
then the other cities will pick the one. And,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that ratio is a good ratio.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to have the opportunity, once you have those expertise, defined, to be able to appoint somebody as well as Commissioner Daniels or this body.
Whoa. No, these are the cities.
I know.
Okay, yeah, these are my
but
cities.
Dallas County is appointing 3 positions.
Yeah, for the Dallas County
From the
Right,
Dallas County.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So that's my
Okay.
recommendation. I think that this is an opportunity to do what we haven't been able to do in more than 20 years with the inland port, and I think it's a good idea.
Well, its time is good, and then,
I
Ms.
agree.
Laura Freeman.
And we
I was
also
gonna ask
have a
Ms. Freeman.
consultant, and I know we went through the
Yep.
whole, range of motions when it comes to getting to this point, and, government sometimes doesn't work as fast as we would like it to work, but I think we're at a great point, and I would like to be able to be involved in this.
Well, excuse me, but Laura Freeman, if you allow me, she is here today. She's the executive.
Would you please stand up just for the
Ms.
record and
Freeman
everybody
is
to see
the
you?
executive director of the, right now, the Dallas County Inland Port Transportation Management Association. I think Ms. Blair had to go back and do a little engineering work. She is the chair. But Ms. Freeman is the executive director. We've been very pleased. We just did our 5th symposium with people from across the country. She put on at Cedar Valley campus and was just well received. So we're going to lean on her for some of her expertise along with Mr. Reed. So, Ms. Freeman,
Thank you so much for being here today. You're going to heaven. And, and we will definitely look forward working with you about, how to actually, take the inland port at the
As international
next level.
experience,
So thank you so much. And if
Before
you
we
can
leave
send
this
me some of
topic-
that information, I would appreciate it.
Before we leave this topic, I would also like to say thank you to Ms. Freeman for all that you have done. And I respectfully recognize that the inland port is entirely in District 3, except that the impact of the inland port covers not only the county but the region. And that's why the representation from the whole area, as what Dr. Garcia has mentioned, I think is appropriate. And so I'm looking forward to see how this official recognition and designation can make the inland port even more successful than what it has already been. So I look forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Another comment that I wanted to see, Commissioner Daniel, you're finished?
Yeah, I'm finished. Thank you.
I know Commissioner Price pulled out 35, okay. Number 38, the temporary staffing service. I know that this is an extension. We have discussed about some of the challenges that we've been having about temporary staffing, and obviously don't want to, fault anyone here, just I think the nature of the biz, but we need to be sure that those requirements for the next contract, include a little bit more of the language that allow us to, work with the institutions that we just mentioned, with HR, and see how we can, have better results. And I know I'm talking to the choir, but I would like to see a little more diverse pool of employees.
Agreed, and this is simply it's not an extension, I'm sorry. It's a increase in some of the billable rates so they can actually recruit, because we're having difficulty recruiting in all of our areas. The court took an action on April 19th of 22 to help HHS on a couple of positions specifically. This is bringing back the rest of those positions. So this contract goes through the end of this calendar year. We will have the specifications for release on the next court meeting, so hopefully it'll address your concerns. We do agree we want to make sure they're recruiting talented and diverse candidates for our positions.
Thank you. Last but not least, I want to congratulate Dr. Watkins, our budget office. I know that we'll probably have it as a presentation award for being recognized by Government Finance Officers Association. I'm sure you will let us know more about it. I know in your email you explained to me what the award meant, and hey, it's not easy, and I want to tell you, Dr. Watkins, we're very proud of the job that you're doing with us. I know this is not an easy body to work with, and definitely you do it with pride and a smile, and I really appreciate that. And I think, Judge, those were my questions. Those were all my comments.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Judge, I'll move Court Order 36.
You put 35?
Yeah, well, we need to get to 35 first.
Well, I'm skipping 35 because,
I understand you may not want to vote for it, but there may be 3 votes for it. So is there a motion on 35?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
nay.
Okay, that motion carries 4-1. Next before us is Court Order number 36.
Well, it's just, but wait.
Yeah. Mr. Frwy, yeah.
Mr.
One of the other.
Yeah, it's one or the other. 35 and 36, as you recall, we deferred the item for the SNS contract.
That's what I was trying to
And we brought back both options at the request of the elections administrator. One was the silver package, which is 35, and 36 was the gold package we discussed
2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So we can go silver package and even add everything up to the gold package and still save 25%.
Well,
Or we can go gold package and just give them more money.
Well, look.
Can we let our director finish what he was saying?
No, because I sent an email yesterday about something with regards to this. And I think IT will tell you that I was correct in that assertion. That's the reason I don't even understand this. Because there was an allegation in 35 that ESNS was involved. They're not. It wasn't true. And so why are we going to lead to an incompetent, demonstrated director the opportunity to say, because first it's going to say, well, the court did it, and that we got a chance to move it up. We start where we are, and then we can monitor it. But go ahead on, Mr.
If I can clarify, the conversation we had at the last court meeting was we had the silver package for court consideration, and there was an ability in the contract to move it up, as you mentioned, Judge Jenkins. I asked for us to have to table that so I could discuss the terms with ES&S to ensure that we had that in writing, because we had the silver package, and it had a provision for an increase on a temporary basis. But speaking with ES&S, they did not intend for that to be for the entire term of the contract. That'd be a one-time increase for that. If you want to touch those devices 1 year, you could do so, but they did not say that was the spirit of their contract to bring that up for 4 years. So therefore, we have a gold package that has every device being managed over a 12-month period, or the silver package, which is what your elections administrator had brought forward before, which has your devices being touched over a 24-month period, with the understanding from Mr. Scarpello that you only use half your devices a year, so therefore it satisfies the requirement. So you have two options here. Mr. Scarpello wanted to bring both them back for consideration. I don't know if he's online to speak, but this is my understanding of where we are. So that's from the procurement standpoint. We have two options for you today to consider. One is the gold package, where every device will be visited at least once every 12-month period, or you have the silver package, which is your routine maintenance visit once every 24-month period.
Once every 24
But Mr. Sorry, Commissioner, you go. No, you
I have
go.
a couple questions on this then.
And then
First of all, First of all is that there are 2 certified companies providing these kinds of services in the state of Texas. Only one has a paper trail, therefore we really have no option when it comes to ES&S because we are insisting on a paper trail. That's one point. Then the second point, if that's true, I think it is. Then the second point is, so numbers 35 and 36, we would vote for one or the other?
One or the other. You have an option here. If you voted on 35, 36 would not be moved forward. It would take the precedent of 36. If you vote on 36, 35 would not be voted on. So it's an option for the court.
But Mr. Frush, the fact that both options, because our discussion last time, if I remember correctly, colleagues, was the opportunity to have both options, right? The reason these two options are in the agenda today is because this court approving 35 and 36, we have those two options, and we're still saving money.
The court had discussion.
No, there's a choice.
There's a choice. We let the reason.
I didn't understand before we got in there.
Exactly, and that's
very confusing the way it's put on it.
But approving both allows to have those choices.
Well,
No.
Mr. Scarpello is on the line. He could probably speak
Okay,
more on
Mr.
his.
Scarpello, clarify it now.
Oh, shit. You gonna ask him to clarify? But no,
The
we understand. It's 35 to 36. It's the same thing we did before. We sent Mr. Frosch to take and filter and see what they would do. And so we came back with that's what I said.
Let me ask Mr. Scarpello, based on everything you've heard, what is the election's recommendation on 35 and 30, 35 or 36? You're on mute.
Thank you, Laura.
You're on mute.
Thank you. God's trying to tell you something. Let's go. Man.
Can someone help get him off mute?
Jesus Christ. Okay. Y'all go ahead.
You're still on mute.
Can we just?
Okay, Lord.
Judge, Mr. Frost has explained to you what it is. It's just, I mean, it's one or the other. If y'all sensitive, in fact.
Yeah, it's one or the other, we did 35.
That's it, that's what I said, and that's what I'm.
So we already did 35.
Well, but but the judge just said he didn't understand that, yeah.
Well, I have to be
I
honest.
understood
with
it
you.
completely.
I don't
Them both, I say, okay, we have both.
Silver, gold.
We passed silver.
We passed silver because,
Okay.
we passed silver because, and my, I mean, the reason why I voted for silver, the reason why.
Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Scarpello, why don't you try disconnecting and reconnecting to this meeting so we can hear from you?
Okay.
As we were told before,
If everybody still understand, then hell, let's move forward. We don't need to hear from, incompetent.
Those of you who are 35 want to stay with 35, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Hearing that from,
Is everybody want to stay with 35?
Yeah.
Okay, my vote is still hell no.
Well,
I got you.
all right, so then that takes us to our public speakers.
But you can't.
And we've already read the rules of decorum. Our first public speaker is Dolores
we
Phillips.
voted on 35, we passed 35.
Dolores Phillips, Phillips. There she is, there's both her and William.
Oh, Jesus.
410, right? Well, Commissioner, I think we want some of it.
But you can't get it.
You can get it.
You can't get it.
That's what he said.
That's exactly.
But, we have the opportunity to do it again,
You. We've already read the
Dolores
rules of
Phillips,
decorum.
P.O.
Go ahead.
Box 530236, Grand Prairie, Texas 75053. Honorable Jenkins, about 3 months ago, you said that you were going to get back with me concerning the stolen exhibit. I'm alleging, in this case, the stolen exhibit, City of Dallas and Dallas County plotted and schemed to steal those sealed exhibits to obstruct justice, and they plotted and scheming just as they did in Robert Groden cases, who proved in the court of law that the City of Dallas, Dallas County, exploited Dallas police officers to battle him for 20 years. Right now in the court of law, Officer Reiser, Dallas Police Officer Reiser, is suing Detective Detective Montenegro for falsifying the affidavit. When I say these things about falsified affidavit, fabricated police reports, seemingly because I'm black and I'm a woman and I'm a straight heterosexual, I'm re-victimized. But that's okay because I watch how you operate internally. Years ago, because I've been down here trying to clear my name for years, I said Dallas was internally self-imploding. What I don't know is why you do each other the way you do each other. One time, Commissioner KOCH asked for a motion about the mask. No one seconded him, and that's because that's the way y'all do business as brothers, right? The least you could have did was second his motion for it to be on the record. That's what brothers do. Even if you were going to deny his motion, it should at least be heard on the record. When I think about Commissioner Price, 30 plus years where he sit, no street, no school, nothing named in his honor, his remembrance, him, this brother right here, I don't agree with everything he says, but when I come here, I really do observe, analyze, and assess. So when I seen that beautiful, what's her name? Yvonne, the one, what's the beautiful lady that just was honored at the Union Station?
Eddie Bernice.
Bernice Johnson. That was a beautiful thing. And then I heard that Pastor Haynes was honored, right? That's a beautiful thing. I think both that sister and that brother should have been honored. When I heard that Pastor Haynes was honored, I tried to find where Commissioner Price was remembered. I was going to go pay homage and take flowers because I don't agree with everything he says, but he's paid his dues. So how do you have a platform where you've been for 30-some years, people come down here and be heard, and he's not even honored? Dallas historians have to get it right. It's not no history without Commissioner Price being honored, even when I don't agree with everything he says. But Honorable Jenkins, you're a judge, right? But I need you to hear this. Please, Honorable Jenkins. That's fine, but I need you to hear this. When they stole them exhibits, there was medical records, FBI files, Dallas Police Department, and it's big. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, William Hopkins, you're up. You okay with that one going a little long?
My daddy said, our money ain't good money.
All right.
My name is William Hopkins. The court, Frank Crowley Court, they was in a long line the other day. The judge is mad because John made him come back to work. So they come up with this little plot to play like they need masks to come in. That's, to delay and leave the people in jail. Most of the people that's, somebody say something? Okay. The most of the people in jail is black and Hispanic. So in 2019, when Cruzo was the DA, the judges were taking off every Friday, Judge Jenkins. Let me tell you a story that I know about. When Cruzo got to be a DA, the judges were taking off, the white judges were taking off every Friday. Every Friday, you could go to the court and there wasn't nobody there. And then they had the pandemic, and then people had to stay in jail. You didn't have no court, so the people had to stay in jail. Then after the pandemic, the judges worked on Tuesdays and Thursdays and was off the other days. Everybody knew it, and John wanted to play like this is or whatever. But the judge is mad because John made him come back to work. This is why they come up with this mask, and you can't come in the building without a mask. That's to delay and leave the people in jail. I wanted to say something about the people in Sand Branch don't have no water. Y'all had an engineer, Judge Jenkins, around about 2-3 years ago, and with two people, the engineer was white, and y'all gave him like $100 and some thousand. Do the people in Sand Branch have water yet? Can I ask that question? They want to give John all kind of give him an award. Do the people in Sand Branch have water yet, Judge Jenkins? You can't even answer that. The people dying in West Dallas. Let's try to give John another award. Him and Fred Byron and the ministers. It was a minister said something about the judges, and he said that John was wrong. I can't think of the minister's name, black guy. And they think so many people done died in West Dallas. I get kind of thrown off. But him and Fred Byron got the money that the city sued for. I gave you the documents, Judge Jenkins, where the city sued. I'm trying to find out how did John Wiley Price and the ministers give away the money. That's what I was trying to say. The ministers was on John's side. I don't know where this minister come from, but John and the ministers had the people to come to the boys club and don't tell nobody, don't tell the media or the Dallas Morning News and get thousands of dollars. Let's give him an award for that. Letting the people die in West Dallas, and him and the ministers and Fred Byron Budd, Russell Budd, and Dorothy Budd of the Fred Byron and Budd law firm stole the money, so we can give him a trophy for that. We can give him a trophy for Sand Branch and the judges leaving the blacks in jail because they black and mostly black and Hispanic, and that's why they in jail so long.
Sorry, we're out of time. Our last speaker today is Deborah Jenkins. Ms. Deborah Jenkins? Ms. Deborah Jenkins. You see her online? Can't there? Okay. All right. The court will now recess for its closed session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Government Code as previously posted. Any action as a result of that closed session will take place in a subsequent open session. We're going to begin our closed session in about a minute.
Bring it to executive session, Mr. Martin, before it comes out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with, because I've been contacted by various people regarding that too.
I'm not worried about various people, I'm just worried about us up in the jail. I got you. We back in session.
We're back in open session.
Okay, we're back on, okay. We have a return to the regular session from the executive session. No decisions having been made in the executive session or discussed. We're now back in regular session. Are there any other items coming before the court? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
Move adjourn.
Well, I got a motion by Dr. Garcia, second by Dr. Daniel. We adjourn. Any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by your sign of voting.
Aye.
Those who oppose, same sign.
Great job.
Chair's
Vamos.
Thank you.
I'm the only one I looked.